Sills! I'm going to start it right out. Jimmy Johnson, bottom of the hour. Why don't we ask the coach who drafted Emmitt Smith if he would draft Bijan Robinson in the first 10 picks? By the way, I'm going to make a proclamation here. Personally, I think Bijan Robinson's the best player in the draft. But I'll take Myles Murphy. Bijan Robinson is the best player in the draft. And that's by multiple general managers that we've spoken to. But you don't want him. Because it's a running back. Because it's not what we do. Great organizations run by great general managers like Howie aren't conventional. This is not what we do. Well, there's a sandbox that Howie plays in, and you guys have dubbed it Howie Vision, okay? You have a great opportunity. Now that Aaron Rodgers is now in the AFC, by the way, we're going to get into what the word elite means. And I don't believe there's many guys that are elite in the game. I just don't. Here, I'm going to jump right to the topic. By the way, I saw a little bit of those numbers and how it's being projected out on Jalen's contract. And I'll throw this out of the gate right here. What is the definition of the word in the words elite quarterback? I think there's only three. Rodgers, Mahomes, and Burrow. I think there's a lot of players with elite potential. Jalen Hurts is not an elite quarterback. He's not. He's showing elite potential. Josh Allen showing elite potential. Justin Herbert showing elite potential. Kyler Murray showing elite potential. Once you get paid doesn't mean you're the best player in the game. It doesn't. We saw Dak Prescott with that tag forever. It doesn't mean that. Once you get paid, now you have to put an elite resume together. And again, it's no shade on anybody, but what I think we've done, I think we have expanded this elite quarterback conversation to mean more than what some people's resume are saying. It's not a Jalen Hurts attack or a conversation. Once you start talking in the same room of LeBron James or Michael Jordan, those are elite. They're elite athletes with elite resumes. M. Reyes, Hurts is elite of this buds for you, Sills? Look, Jalen Hurts has so many characteristics for being a guy who could be elite. And this is why he's being paid. Remember something, Aaron Rodgers is still the highest paid guy at $60 million. Jets have to pay him 60. I think Jalen's base, though, now, I think his base is more than what Rodgers is. Rodgers is a 4-time MVP. Super Bowl MVP. Had a down year last year, and it's still considered one of the better seasons of anybody who played the quarterback position in a down year. Mahomes is elite with an elite resume. And Burrow's been to 2 straight AFC championships. And has taken the Bengals to places that they've not been to in back-to-back consecutive years. Once again, I think sometimes the money clouds the judgment of how we look at that. I'll get more into this topic here, but I'm not throwing the word greatness out like you do or elite out like you do. and filling in something when no one's accomplished really a lot personally. And I'm talking about consistency, being elite every year, year in and year out, every year. That's the words elite quarterback, what they mean to me. Not one season. Again, not a rip on him. And quite frankly, Burrow's got to continue to elevating of his game. Allen's got to continue his elevating of his game. So does Herbert. So does Jalen. They all know this. This is not something that's some gigantic epiphany here. Don't let the money fool you. Okay? That because you get that money doesn't mean you have built an elite resume. Lamar Jackson has put an elite resume, but he still has to win. Personally, Lamar at 26 has done more and almost as much as what Mahomes has done, except what? Win. And I'm not just talking about regular season games. I'm talking about games that matter. Games that you have to win if you're going to be considered that. Money can't buy you elite. Your actions on the field have to, and your consistency has to. What makes Tom Brady is every single year he goes out, he chops wood, he goes in, he goes out, he goes in. Tom Brady is gauged by what he does in the postseason, as Mahomes is, and now what Hurts is going to be. Hurts is now in the room where regular seasons are fine and dandy. You see, why is everybody disappointed in Dak Prescott? Dak got the money. Dak wins regular season games. Shit, he owns the Eagles. Gets in the postseason, lays a turd. Lays a turd. Son, you got to win. And I mean games that matter. Games that put your team in a position to win the ultimate prize. Everybody wants to win the very last game of the year. Only few can. That's what we're talking about with upper shelf guys. And now that Jalen is in that pool of players, I don't know how you guys agree with me on this, don't agree with me on this, but dude, now that you're being compared against Michael Jordan, and Mahomes is the Michael Jordan right now of the NFL, you're not being compared to Baker Mayfield. You're not being compared. You're being compared to the guy in Kansas City now. And you've got to live up to that every year, not 1 year, not 2 years. Burrow's got to continue to elevate his game. And get this, the Bengals have to continue to elevate their game around him. Boy, I'll tell you something, man. One thing I will give the Eagles, everybody is rowing in the same direction. And I can't tell you how important that is for a player. Did you hear what's going on? Dude, to show you how great Philly is and how they dealt with this Jalen Hurts contract. Did you hear what Tom Telesco said this morning? Tom Telesco, the general manager of the Chargers, came out and said this. Yeah, we have no update on the contract talks with Justin Herbert. Have you began them? Have you started talking about it? Dude, you're going to have to pay that guy $55 million. What's the holdup? You know what the holdup is? Got a shitty organization and an unqualified head coach with a good GM, but they don't have all the pieces there like they do in Philly. They do not have all the pieces. Okay? Bruce, you can call... Your definition is different than mine. We'll agree to disagree. All good. I don't care what you think. Jalen has not become elite yet. Kyler Murray got his money. Only thing Jalen did was he was on a football team that went to the Super Bowl. Garoppolo did that. Big deal. Garoppolo's got a hell of a win percentage. I wouldn't consider him elite. Well, Jalen does more. Okay. We got to win in the postseason, and you got to win consistently. I'm not saying that he's not trending that way. I just said it. So we'll agree to disagree. I don't see him that way because I only think there's three. You got a 4-time MVP in New York now, Mahomes in Kansas City, and I do think the kid in Cincinnati is. The rest of them are all working to become that. They're all working to become that. I'll tell you this, you turn on the radio station in Philly, I've never seen more cheerleaders in my life and not giving you the facts. There's more cheerleaders than I've ever seen before. It's quite amusing. Quite amusing. Do I think that Philly has put themselves in a position with the moves that Howie Roseman? I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to cheerlead with pom. I don't do a 3-hour pom-pom show. So for me, Sills, do you think Philadelphia, do you take back what you said about them not making the playoffs? Yeah. Why? Well, because Howie limited the damage. And this might be his greatest offseason. This might be Howie's greatest offseason. Because everything is just working so well in Philly right now. The GM's kicking ass. The head coach looks like the right guy. The quarterback looks like the right guy. The freaking environment is great. Everything is lining up. The NFC East is pathetic at quarterback. It's pathetic. Sills, don't you think the NFC East is good? Daniel Jones, who knows who in Washington, and a very underachieving Dak. You call that a good quarterback division? Here's the truth. I don't know. That's about a C division. Jalen elevates the division. Jalen's starting to separate himself from Dak big time. Absolutely. Just in the way he carries himself. Just the way he carries himself. Dude, the Eagles have the best environment going right. I'm trying to think. Seattle? Maybe Seattle. Head coach, ownership looks like they're all on the same page. Give me another place. Belichick looks like, again, he's not evolving. You know, Bill Belichick might have the worst team in the AFC East. That's incredible. 4 years removed from Brady. You have the worst team in the AFC East. I think it speaks to the AFC East and how it's rapidly getting better. How's it getting better? Quarterback play. Jets, Rodgers, Allen, Buffalo, Tua when healthy. Right? You got a good-looking division. AFC East looks good. You know why? Quarterbacks. Look at the AFC West. Garoppolo, Super Bowl quarterback. Herbert, fastest guy to 15,000 yards next to Mahomes in NFL history. Russell Wilson, I do think there's a bounce back with Sean Payton in him. And you got Mahomes and Andy Reid. Come on now. Where are we going with that? Okay? I totally believe when we use the word elite quarterback, there's got to be a consistency factor and component to this when you put that evaluation in there. It can't be just like we thought of when everyone thought Carson Wentz was elite. I'm not quick to rush to that. Of all people who should know better, too, Philadelphia should know better than anyone. You should know better. Some of you should be ashamed of yourselves on how you flip-flop on how you look at elite. You all thought Carson Wentz was elite. Now you flopped out of that. And now you're on this quicker than you were with Wentz. Dude, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride. This kid's taking you on a better ride than what Wentz did. You know, it's funny. When I hear people saying Carson Wentz and his attitude and his cancer in the locker room, you guys weren't talking about that in 2017. That's a Monday morning quarterback conversation now. You weren't talking like that 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Neil, the Birds are starting to live up to that gold standard comment that was made almost 20 years ago. Got to get this draft right. Yeah. But I'll tell you this. Howie Roseman is elite. Howie Roseman, okay? Howie Roseman is an elite general manager. That's elite. That's elite. That contract, let me look at this. Next 4 years, they're giving him $157 million. Of the 255. Cap hits we've gone over. And if they cut him when he's 26, there's $50 million that they could spread out and defer out. That would be on the salary cap as dead money, which is nothing. They can defer that money out 20 years because of the new CBA. There are so many off-ramps that Howie put in this contract. They did exactly what I told you they would do with this contract, and it almost duplicates the Patrick Mahomes contract. It was team-friendly. Congratulations, Philly. You were completely right that Jalen Hurts would give you a hometown discount. He did. You know how he did? He made the contract team-friendly. The Eagles don't have a problem paying him. Most owners are not going to have a problem paying a guy like that. But most players don't want to give organizations a reason to get rid of you and make it easy to get rid. Jalen made it easy for the Eagles to feel comfortable in handing that money over to him by saying, you want to get rid of me and you think I'm not good enough? Here's your off-ramps to get rid of me. That takes gigantic onions. But then again, Jalen Hurts is believing in himself for the last 12 years. Is it a surprise? No. Kudos to him and that organization. When you look at the numbers even more so, the guy, without a doubt, made it easy for the Eagles to get rid of him if they had to. If you cut, get this. So just think what this has done. If you cut him, you've got dead cap money. You can't trade him because he's got a no trade. They're boxed into this guy. Howie Roseman has been impressive this offseason. And I'll say it. I think Howie Roseman has impressed me more this offseason than even last year when he built a Super Bowl contending team. Because he had a lot of damage control. Remember what I said yesterday? I think they're in a better place right now. Coming off that Super Bowl loss than they were in 17 coming off that Super Bowl win. They're in a better place. They're in a better place. You've got so many things working. You got the 10th pick in the draft, coming off a second place finish in the NFL. By the way, Jimmy Johnson, bottom of the hour, the owner of 2 Super Bowls and a half, and how he built the organization. I'll ask him what he thinks of Howie Roseman as GM. I'll ask him if he would draft Jalen Carter. I'll ask him if he would take Bijan. Remember, Jimmy took Emmett. Everyone questioned the Emmett selection. I know some of you don't think so, but nobody drafts a 5'9" running back at 201 to the football team and then goes on, and Jimmy looks you in the face and goes, I told you I was right. Nobody wanted Jimmy to draft him. Built a dynasty behind that running game. Turned what was an average O-line into an elite line. And you have an elite line. Why not get an elite back? The Phillies. What's up, Dan? Are You My Friend, the realest show on YouTube? With Aaron Rodgers gone, will you in this date predict Eagles going to the Super Bowl? No. I want to see. They need more work. The Phillies, they're in the 5 teams in the NFC. I didn't think they were. He limited the damage. He got both his corners back. The offense is intact outside of starting guard. It's a big deal, I think. By the way, before we get JJ on, here are the areas that I think, as we're heading into the draft Thursday, that the Eagles have to work on. They got a starting position open right now. Just to assume Cam Jurgens is going to play well there. Now look, Lane on the right, Kelsey on the left, Jalen behind. It seems it will. And do I believe that Cam can do the transition to guard? I do, because of the coach, Stoutland, and because of the people around him. I do. But there's a reason people are talking offensive line. Okay? Because they want to hedge their bets on that. Makes sense. I personally think the team needs some linebackers. Is there any in this draft? You know what I would tell you? I'm not drafting one guy in this draft at linebacker. But you know what I will do? I'll sign some unrestricted free agents that are college kids and bring them in. And I'll bring a ton of them in. And maybe I find TJ Edwards again. I think the linebackers that can be drafted outside of the kid Campbell, and I think the rest of them could all go in a sandbox. And if you take them in 2, 3, 4, or 5, I think some of those kids that are going to be free agents are going to be just as good. It's not a very good talent pool of linebackers. So to me, I would just, if you like a kid from a particular program, you throw some tape on, you watch him, I'd bring him in. I don't know if I would waste a 4th rounder on a linebacking guy in this draft because it's not really deep in linebackers. They need depth on both lines. They just need to be a little deeper. Last year, you had Driscoll and Dillard as your offensive line swing guys, your Swiss Army knife guys. You don't really have that luxury right now. So to me, I think that getting a little deeper in O-line and getting deeper into D-line is something that I think could free agency and undrafted guys probably. Safety position has to be addressed. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not comfortable with who they have at safety. I think you need an elite back. Gainwell is as productive as Miles Sanders. Again, cheerleading and waving pom-poms. If that was the case, Howie would have transitioned him in, would not have given the carries to Miles Sanders. They already knew they weren't offering Sanders. Wouldn't they have started him? Wouldn't Howie have started Kenneth Gainwell if he believed he could be the bell cow guy? Why give Sanders 260 carries then? If you believe Gainwell's better or can give you the same amount of carries. You were cheaper and you can move on and you would have gained them experience. That's not true. Or Gainwell would have been the starter. Not true. I'd like to see another backup tight end. I thought the kid they got a year ago is more of a blocking tight end. I didn't think he was bad. But I'd like to see a little more depth there at tight end. How about some depth at corner? It's a pretty deep draft at corner. I think you can get guys 2, 3, and 4 that can come in and play for you. And you can put them back there. Because guess what? Hey, if Bradbury or Slade get hurt, what are you going to do back there? What are you going to do at corner? If Slade or Bradbury gets hurt, you don't have the depth at corner right now. You might want to get a couple guys. If they get Robinson, can the Eagles be the new greatest show on turf? Hoss, if they got Bijan Robinson and put him in the backfield, you couldn't defend the Eagles, my friend. And this notion that you have to have an I formation is preposterous. I'm not changing shit. You know what I'm just changing with Derrick Henry or Bijan? I'm limiting the carries for Jalen. You're looking at this wrong. I'm trying to limit the carries for Jalen Hurts and not have any loss in production. I'm trying to extend Jalen Hurts' career. Instead of having a low ceiling for these dual threat guys, don't you want to have this guy play 10 years? You don't play 10 years when you've missed games 2 years in a row. He's not going to get healthier unless you help it. John Elway became what? The second fiddle on the Broncos when they got Terrell Davis. Who cares who gets the glory? This is about the ring, not the glory. What do you think, you play in Dallas? Dallas worries about the glory. Okay? Bijan Robinson's the best player in this draft. We need David Putney. You know the guy. Hey, guys, you know the movie Draft Day? They need special teams. All right, before I bring Coach Johnson on, I want to give you guys an education on what Jimmy did and what my coach did at Dallas. Mark Tuney was in Dallas before Jimmy got there for like 3 years. Kevin Gogan, Nate, Crawford Kerr. Jimmy brought in Mark Stepnoski to replace Tom Rafferty. Tom Landry had those guys. He won 3 ball games with them. How did Jimmy make that line elite? He drafted a 5'9" running back who everybody, I'll never forget, I'm standing there when he got him, and I'm going, man, I'll tell you what, but Jimmy knew. Escambia, 12,000 rushing yards. Florida, 4,000. He knew he'd make that team elite. And as soon as Emmett got in there, Jimmy always said this about Emmett. Hey, you know the difference between him and Barry? Barry's going to go -2, -2, -1, 8 yards, 75. You know what Emmett's going to do? 8 yards, 9 yards, 6 yards. You look up, he's got 28 carries for 157, and they win. They beat you up and young. Jimmy had a way of turning average players into elite players. We bring the author of Swagger on right there. See that book? Coach, am I right when I say that? I mean, you had a – I'll never forget Thousand Oaks. You walk in here and you go, Jesus, I got more talent at Miami than I got here. And you're sitting around and you're going, you must have brought 1 million guys in on Tuesdays to look at because you were just looking for players to come in and you were trying to find the right combinations. You end up drafting Emmett, and I'm going to go to Bijan Robinson here in a second. Do you agree, Coach, that one of the linchpin moves that you made was drafting and having the faith in Emmett, and that's what turned that offense into elite?
Well, without question, Emmett had a large part to do with it. The other thing is, you mentioned those offensive linemen, Tuanay, undrafted free agent, Nate Newton, undrafted free agent, Kevin Gogan, 7th-round pick. You look at Mark Stepnoski, a 3rd-round pick, offensive guard that we made into a center. And then you had a 3rd-round pick, Eric Williams from Central Ohio. You look at those players, and they say, well, that might be the greatest offensive line ever in the NFL. Well, there's a combination of a couple of things. First of all, they were hard workers. They were good players. They had a great offensive line coach in Tony Wise. And then, of course, you had Emmitt Smith. Now you support them with a great quarterback with Troy Aikman, a great receiver with Michael Irvin. Alvin Harper, Novacek. So we had an outstanding unit. But I said, before, and I know Howie Long and Michael Strahan disagree with me, but I think on the entire coaching staff, the one coach that's more valuable than the players that he coaches is the offensive line coach. If any other position, I'll take a defensive lineman over a defensive line coach. I'll take a running back over a running back coach. But I'll take the offensive line coach over those offensive linemen. You look at some of the great offensive linemen or the lines in history when Alex Gibbs was with the Broncos. You look at the Patriots, Sarkisian. You look at, Tony Wise with the Cowboys.
Joe Bugle, Washington.
Yeah. And so the offensive line coach is really one of the more important coaches on your staff.
The Eagles seemingly have a guy like that, Coach, and Jeff Stoutland. And, Coach, this guy here, the Eagles, man, Kelsey's a 6th-round guy. Mulata was taken in the 7th. Lane was a 1. Dickerson was a 2. These guys, Coach, are so well coached. Yes. Unbelievable. So he's worth the weight in gold then, Jeff Stoutland, because I consider him the best O-line coach in the NFL.
Yeah, I think you've got a couple. The one that was at Washington, now at Cleveland. He was at Dallas at one time. He is an outstanding line coach. But now you mentioned Robinson. He is a talent at running back. Yeah, the shelf life for running backs is pretty short, but I think he could make an impact on a football team in a hurry.
Well, I'm going to start there then, Coach. Coach, this is a big conversation. Our show's based in Philly, Coach, and there's a lot of talk about this. So you've got a bunch of dudes in the backfield. You've got an elite O-line. You've got 2,000-yard receivers. Dallas Goedert is turning into a really good tight end, and now you've got Jalen Hurts. Coach, you put a back there like Bijan Robinson. He's all pro, and he's a 1,500-yard back. You had a lesser talented Miles Sanders last year who had 1,300 yards, 11. Doesn't that make more sense than, say, signing an edge rusher at 10? And how would you handle that with your talent evaluation looking at that could be the last piece to push us over Kansas City?
Yeah, I think if Robinson falls to Philadelphia, without question, they've got to consider him. A lot of people are talking about Gibbs at Alabama. I think Robinson's a little bit more of a physical back than Gibbs. But without question, he would make that offense exciting. You look at what they did a year ago, adding the receivers and with Jalen Hurts coming on strong, you add a great running back to that offense, and they're going to score some points.
Coach, Jalen Hurts, do you think he's an elite quarterback?
Yeah, I think in that style of offense, he is. I watched him in preseason and workouts against the Miami Dolphins. I was so impressed with his work ethic, his leadership ability. There's no BS about him. He wants to get the job done, whatever it takes to get the job done. And I think he fits right in as far as that style of offense. Now, if you put him in a different style of offense, I don't know how great he is. But in that offense, he knows how to run it.
He sure does, Coach. To me, he's like a Jamal Holloway that could throw. You know what I mean? He's kind of like that. But to me, in that kind of style, Coach, there's not really a gigantic shelf life. That's why, to me, the running back makes more sense. I'm not looking to take his production away when it comes to yards, but I want his yards per carry to go up. I don't want him carrying it 17 times. That's why I say if you put an elite guy behind him, you limit the hits in open space, and you give him the opportunity to be – because RPO means run pass. It's not pass run option. You start with the run game. That's why, to me, that makes more sense.
Well, I think if you got Robinson there along with Hurts, it opens up one-on-one coverage on those receivers. And even Dallas Goedert, he was a big part of the offense when he was healthy this year. So you end up you can pound them, and then get the big plays with the receivers that they have.
Coach, I was telling a story of this guy here. I was telling the story right when he was drafted. Guy told me, because we're talking about Jalen Carter now, and I was like this. They go, Dan, I go, would you draft Jalen Carter? And I go, well, I'd like to have a conversation with him. And I go, let me tell you how my coach would handle it. He would give you a set of rules, and Jimmy would put him on his talent scale like this. Here's where you are, son. If you're here and you're productive, I'll put up with some of your bullshit. But if you start tilting the scale, you told all of us that. Coach, would you, if he fell to 10, I think he's either the first or second best player in the draft next to Will Anderson and Bijan. And if he falls to 10, how would you handle a guy that's got some issues from a man who's handled a lot of guys with a lot of issues?
If I could deal with you, Dan, I could deal with anybody.
That's right.
I think the biggest thing, and we had some players that were on the edge, when we were there in Dallas. I think the biggest thing for a head coach, you've got to have one-on-one conversations with the individual. Charles Haley and I, who right now, we're as close as any player that I've ever coached. But there were some trying times when Charles first came to the Cowboys. And he came into my office one time after I'd ripped him in a practice. And he said, Coach, if you'll just, talk to me one-on-one, and, try to correct the mistakes one-on-one, rather than embarrassing me in front of the other players, then we'll be fine. And after that, we were always hunky-dory. So there was no problem after that. But I think the head coach, sometimes you look at yourself as the CEO and you try to, have a blanket for everybody. And I don't think it works that way. And I think there's so much individualism nowadays with the players that you've got to spend time with them one-on-one. And counsel them and make sure that you're both on the same page.
Coach, you think players today have to be more stroked than our days? Do you think they have to be more stroked today because of social media and stuff?
I don't know if stroke's the right word. I think, they've got to be disciplined. You've got to have, credibility there, and they have to know what to expect from you, just like you expect something from them. But I do believe that you have to spend more time one-on-one. I don't think the old days of they'll run through a brick wall for you. I don't think that flies anymore. I think you tell them to do it, and they're going to say, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense running through a brick wall. But you've got to talk to them, and make sure that they believe in what you're doing. But again, it's back to one-on-one conversations with them.
Coach, the draft, a couple questions on the draft. I want to put you at 10, and I want to put you back into the draft room. How do you prepare when you don't have the number 1 overall pick and you're, say, sitting at 10 or you're sitting at 30? How many boards do you have? How many options? Is it a sandbox of players that you have that you're looking at, filling needs, and then do you go by best player? Do you go by more talented player? Or what's more important to you, the need or the talent of the player?
I always talk, I didn't want to go with the philosophy of take the best player available. I went with take the best player available where I want to pick him. I would always, if I was going to be at 10, I was always going to identify 3 or 4 players that were going to be somewhere around 10 that I wanted, that fit our football team. And if it looked like those 3 or 4 players were not going to be there at 10, then I would move out of that spot and move down, get some extra picks. Or if I had 3 or 4 players and 3 of those 4 are already picked, I might move up a spot to make sure I got a guy that I wanted. I think you've got to identify players that fit into your system, players that can help your football team, players that you really want to coach. And then you have those players identified where they're going to go. I identified Zach Thomas in the 5th round. I wanted to pick him. Now, if it looked like I wasn't going to get him in the 5th round, I'd have moved up to the 4th round to pick him. But I felt pretty comfortable with a 5'11" linebacker that I was going to get him at 5. And so you've got to identify certain players that you really want to come out. I would have obviously studied the entire board. I would go through 300 or 400 players, but I would go into the draft with about 20 players 3 or 4 in each round. And then I wanted to come out of the draft with about, 6 or 7 players that I had identified that I wanted. And I would move up or move down to get those players.
I was talking to Coach Wannstedt last week and how he said you guys always approached it. You would look at the talent of the draft. Coach, I hear guys talking, well, this guy Skornowski from Northwestern is a top 10 pick and Paris Johnson is a top 10 pick, or this guy. And I go, yeah, but are they top 10 picks? Is this draft that talented? And when I look at the draft, Coach, there's probably 5 guys, 6 wild players. The kid Anderson looks like a wild guy. The Tyree Wilson kid from Tech looks maybe like a wild guy. Bijan, maybe Bryce Young. He's kind of small for me. But again, there's not a lot of guys that I went. To me, you're trying to tell me you think that Paris Johnson guy looks like Orlando Pace, who was almost drafted in the same play? Do you look at that, Coach, and go, hey, you may say he's the 8th pick, but this is the prime example of places overdrafting. That guy's not the 8th pick, Coach, and on any other draft, he'd be like 18. How do you get around that?
Dan, I was never really concerned about how strong a draft was. I looked at it like, again, I would study those 300 or 400 players, and I'd come up with 15 or 20 that I wanted throughout the draft.
And that's where you would put the value chart on these guys.
I mean, some of them, maybe I wanted Larry Brown in the 12th round back when they had 12 rounds. But I would identify certain players that I wanted to get. I wanted to get Leon Lett in the 7th round. And so. Yeah, I didn't worry about how strong a draft was. I just wanted to make sure that I came out of the draft with 7 or 8 players that I wanted to coach, that fit our football team, that fit our needs, that were talented enough to play in the NFL.
Coach, what's a profile for you? I tell people I kind of use like an FBI profile on how you looked at players. First, he had to be smart. He had to be a gym rat. Some of the other things, this guy had to be, hey, look, you got to be on time. You got to play like hell when we tell you to do all that. I mean, is that kind of the foundation of what you looked at in a guy?
Dan, we have coaches come down here to the Keys on a regular basis. And I tell them, I said, listen, everybody can look at these players in college and say, he is a great player. And I said, but now who can identify if they're going to get better? And what are the intangibles that say that they're going to get better? Hey, if we've identified him as a good player, okay, now, is he smart? Is he a gym rat that'll work his rear end off? Does he have character? Is he a playmaker? Does he have quickness? Now, those things, those intangibles tell me he will improve. If he's not a very smart player, he's not going to get a whole lot better. If he's not a gym rat, if he doesn't work hard, he's not going to get a lot better. And so those guys fall by the wayside after about 2 or 3 years. But those guys that are smart, that work hard, are playmakers, they got quickness and they got character, they get better and better and better. They'll be with your football team for 7, 8, 9 years and be productive. That's what I'm looking for. Try to identify, like I said, Dan, you can look at the, college players and you can say, he's a good player, or he's not a good player. But I try to identify good players that will get better, because if they get better, then they'll be productive in the National Football League.
2 last questions for you. Coach, when decisions were being made on players, did you take your coaching staff's opinions on what they saw, or was it just you and Bob Ackles? And then finally your decision.
Well, first of all, Bob was a secretary. He didn't do anything. He didn't look at players at all. So, but he was my administrator. The coaches had great input preparing for the draft. The scouts had great input preparing for the draft. But on draft day, I was making the call.
Coach, for you though, boy, it just seems to me that your scouting team that you put together was just as important as your position coaches when it came to putting them, because those guys would give your position coaches like Butch and Dave and Tony and Coach Campo, they would give them the intel, and then you guys all sit down and chop it up, right?
Yeah, I knew my scouts and I knew my coaches. That's the great thing about have continuity. For instance, Jason Garrett's father, Jim Garrett, was a scout for me. Well, I'd listen to Jim, and Jim would say how great he was, but I knew Jim was going to be overselling him. Everybody's going to be an all-pro. I would look at Jeff Smith, who is an outstanding scout, but if they had any character problem at all, if he had a speeding ticket, Jeff was going to downgrade him. So I knew my people. I knew, for instance, with Butch was going to oversell all of them. All of them were going to be all pro. But Tony Wise, Tony, nobody can play. And so you got to know your scouts, you got to know your coaches, but they were with me for a long time. So I would listen to them, but I would take everything with a grain of salt as far as evaluating the decision that I was going to make on draft day.
Coach, I'm going to leave you with this. So I get a call this morning from Michael Irvin, and we're chopping it up, and I tell him how much I love him. I tell him how much I will always back him, how much this and that. And we start going back and talking about our locker room. I said, you know what, that guy, Coach Johnson, I got him on today. I go, do you know, outside of my family, Mike, the reason that we talk about that great environment in our locker room, it's like the same reason we watch our favorite movies or listen to our favorite songs. Man, I get text messages from Alfredo Roberts in Houston. He's now the tight end coach in Pittsburgh now, sending me, look, I'm about the basketball. I mean, Coach, I don't think you understand that environment in what we all did together that, people keep asking me, do you think Miami will ever? I go, no, Miami will never get back to what JJ did with that environment because, Coach, that was just – Coach, I don't think anybody's ever going to do – they may get back to winning, Coach, but they're not going to get back to how we were.
Well, we were an independent. We were playing a national schedule. Every other week we were on national television, and we were beating those people. That's what made it so much fun. When 1 week you're beating Michigan, and the next week you're beating Oklahoma, then the next week you're beating Notre Dame. That makes it fun. And so I used to tell people the most fun time I ever had in my life, was coaching at the University of Miami when we had all those great players. But the most fun time of my life is right now. And so but I had a ball there in Miami.
Wait a minute, Coach. So you think reeling Sileo and Brown off the edge is it's more fun now to take one of them tunas out of the Atlantic now than bringing those guys off the edge, right?
I don't have near as many headaches. I don't have to put out near as many fires now.
Coach, thank you so much for your time. I always appreciate it. And by the way, please, guys, it's a must-read. Swagger, I got it up there on the shelf there with all the Miami stuff. And every single football Coach Johnson gave me personally, just so you know, including the book. So thank you, Coach.
All right, Dan. Have a good one.
You got it. Hall of Famer, NFL Hall of Famer, Jimmy Johnson there. Interesting stuff on what he said, though, and how he looks at a draft. Okay, and how he goes through the draft and preparing. By the way, Tone, I don't know, but tell me something here. Was Jimmy a fan of Bijan Robinson to Philadelphia? He would make that offense exciting. Did I hear that? Tone, that's got to be a soundbite. Bijan Robinson, Tone, quote, Bijan Robinson would make the Eagle offense exciting. Sure sounds it to me. But hey, I'd rather take a running back in the 8th round. Oh, wait, they don't have 8 rounds. In the 7th round. Come on, man. Come on. Or, hey, I know, and hey, Tone's right, man. This guy's going to kick my ass. Hey, I'll take the edge rusher, Miles Murphy, at 10. Yeah. Miles Murphy at 10. And not the best player in the freaking draft. Let me, hey, Let me take Miles Murphy. Hey, top of the hour, I'm going to rank the best defensive players that are in the draft, though. Holy cow, man. JJ just said, the kids there at 10, you got to think about it. Come on, man. But that's not what the Eagles do. Oh, you're right. You're going to pat. Hey, I think we were kind of saying the same thing. He goes, Sills, I don't look at it that way. I look at, if I wanted a guy, Jimmy looked at value of the player at the time. His number one objective was always this. He was never going to overdraft. He was never. Okay? He was never going to do that. And some of you guys want to take Dick Van Dyke from Iowa. Come on, me. Come on, me. I'll take Dick Van Dyke at number 10. That ain't happening, dog. Not in my world. Okay? Oh, I forgot to ask him I should have asked him about Howie as GM. I should have. We're good to go. How you doing? Jimmy Johnson said, Bijan, go Philly. You should draft him. The man who drafted Emmitt Smith. The man who built a dynasty and killed teams. And by the way, had some of the greatest rivalries. Dude, that Eagle rivalry with the Cowboys, with Jimmy's, take his big fat ass across. By the way, they were friends. Buddy and Jimmy were friends. I told you. I mean, how many times did I post that picture of Buddy coming down and talking to us? When Jimmy was at Miami, Buddy would come down and talk to us. I went out to lunch with Buddy Ryan and Jerome Brown and Jimmy Johnson, and think Stubbs was with us. Then he came in the meeting room, and get this. So Butch Davis is in our team meeting room, and I walk in, and Buddy Ryan's got the projector thing. Sit down. I think 86. Was that his first year? Was 86 the first year that Buddy Ryan was the head coach of the Eagles? Okay, I think it was 86, right? So he comes down there. Sit down. And everyone's like, who is this guy? So we sit down. I'm sitting there. He goes, Sileo, you sit here. Brown, you sit here. Butch starts laughing because Butch don't talk to us like that. And hey, we're sitting there. Buddy Ryan's going like this. Sil's next JJ interview, you got to get somebody. Oh, yes. Promise you, Joe. But here's one right here. So Buddy's sitting in there. Jimmy had him come in. He goes like this. What are you two doing? Two-gapping. Well, and Butch is sitting back there. He goes, what are you looking at? Get the fuck up the field. Okay. He goes, Sileo, you're in a 3 technique. You have one responsibility. Get in the backfield, knock the guard off, get back there and make some plays. That's it. Jerome, how many plays are you going to take off? Dude, you thought he was our D-line coach. I'm sitting there going, I look at Stubbs, I'm like, why is he hollering at us? we won the national title last year. Why is he hollering at us? Dude, we lost one regular season game in 3 years, and this guy's hollering at us. And I'm going, what's he hollering at us for? Russell Maryland was wet behind the ears. All these guys are sitting behind us, and we're like, dude, he's hollering at us. And he's just screaming. Buddy Ryan's screaming. Went, hey, Jerome, how many plays you going to take off? I start laughing. He goes, hey, I wouldn't laugh too hard, dear kid. You're 5 plays away from having your job taken from you. I looked over at him. He goes, you heard me. I'm going, who the frig is this? Dude, everyone, by the end of the meeting, everyone was laughing because he's just killing us. He's killing us. And he'd come down every year. He'd come down every year, and he would kill us. Is it a coincidence that the top 2 O-line prospects in the draft are from the Big Ten? Which conference has the best O-lines in your opinion? Southeastern Conference. Big Ten's Ohio State. Northwestern, the kid with the Chargers, Tone, from the Big Ten also is pretty good. I think the Big Ten's got some pretty good old linemen in it. I do. I think the Big Ten's got good old linemen. Okay, but I think the SEC's better. Yeah, man. Hey, Buddy Ryan would scream at you, man. You son of a bitch. I'm like, we're 30, we're like 35-1 in like 3 years. And he's screaming at us. Gotta make a play there. How could you let that fumble get away, Sileo? I did have 10 tackles in the game. He goes, oh, what? You're gonna give me a resume now of a game? Really? You want me to break down all the shitty plays? Finally, I just start doing this. Man, I'm not winning with this thing here. I just shut the hell. Drum's laughing. Everyone's laughing. Jimmy comes in and starts laughing. Butch never talked to us like that. Buddy Ryan, man, he getting your ass though. What are you doing? He never pointed out the good ones and the good plays. He never pointed those out. He always pointed the shitty ones out. Look at this. It was a real lesson, though, having Buddy Ryan come down and coach you for a day, take you out to lunch. He was the head coach of the Eagles, and you saw what he was building. And plus, when he had Reggie, that's when everything changed. So we were privileged that he would come down, spend one day with us. He did that 2 years in a row, man. He came down in the spring of '87. He came down in the spring of '86, and those 2 years. I would sit in the room. He goes, oh, you again. I'd be like, dude. Then I found out he talks shit to Seth and he talks shit to Singletary. And you know what those two guys told me? Worry when Buddy ain't talking to you. And that's when you start going, okay, all right, I get it. I get it now. I get it. Oh, man, we got a lot of – I haven't even hit the topics yet. Holy cow. So, again, here are the areas going into the draft that your Eagle team needs to address to continue its progression on being one of the elite teams in the NFC. You got a starting position open. You have a starting position open. It's not that easy just saying, hey, I'm going to put X in there and we're ready to go. Did you hear what also? Hey, Tone, I think it's very important. I think this is a soundbite too, Tone. He said Jeff Stoutland is the most important coach on your coaching staff and that he would take a great O-line coach over someone like Lane Johnson or Kelsey because they're worth their weight in gold. Hear what he said on the other end? He goes, I would take a D lineman over a D-line coach any day. But I wouldn't take a great O-line coach. I would not take a great O-line coach over a great O-lineman because those guys are worth their weight in gold. I thought that was profound. I had not heard him ever say that. The most important coach on any coaching staff, according to Coach Johnson, is the O-line coach. It's not a coordinator. Did you hear what he said? He never mentioned coordinators. He said the most important coach in his coaching staff is his offensive line coach. And Tony Weiss was with him from Oklahoma State to Miami to the Cowboys to the Dolphins. Tony Weiss was with him his entire NFL career. That's crazy. I had never heard him say that. Okay? I'd never heard him say, my O-line coach is my most important guy. White people against Bijan. This kid is the real deal with the Eagles pipeline. Are you kidding me? He's great at getting to the second level, runs in traffic exceptionally well, in my opinion, too. I'm with you. Fly, Eagle, fly, I'm with you. I think he's the best player in the draft. I think him and Will Anderson, you could flip a coin. I think they're the two best. I mean, this is what even general managers are saying. And even Coach Johnson said, if he's at 10, you got to look at him. You can't just let him walk. You can't just walk away from the best player in the draft. You can't. You just can't. What if Kansas City moves up and gets him? Good grief. Get him on a rookie deal too? Hey, guys, please hit the like button. Jimmy Johnson said the Eagles would be great. Well, he didn't say that, but he did say you got to look at it. You've got to look at it. I agree with that take. Jack Driscoll was a fourth rounder. Stoutland turned him into a Swiss Army knife and built Mulata up into what he is. I mean, this guy here, I mean, there's no question. Look at it. Hey, you have to agree that Kelsey's game has been elevated since Stoutland's in the building. I mean, shit. Jason Kelsey doesn't want to retire because he's got such great coaching around him. I think that's amazing, some of those takes that Jimmy had. I had the top 13 defense. I couldn't figure and find 20 players in this draft, top defensive players. I couldn't find 20. I only found 13. I got 13 players, in my opinion, that I think are the best defensive players. Also, 5 teams that I think will make trades. We're going to look at that. And what's the topics? I said, okay, I want to get back to that elite conversation again. It's not a rip at Jalen. This is not an attack on the kid. Okay? And again, a little bit more on Bijan Robinson. Hour number 2. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messa & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
My name is Fran Salerno, and I'm a managing director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Okay, so Jimmy Johnson called Jalen Hurts elite. Did he not? I asked him if he was elite. And he says in that offense that he runs. Now, if you put him in another offense, he's not. But the offense so he is the system. So according to Coach, how they are using him in Philly, he is elite. That's how he looks at it. Now, Jalen is not going to go to other places and be slugged into a Los Angeles Chargers offense, and he's not elite in that offense. He would not be elite. That's how he looks at how his style of play is. Okay? Sills, would you still take Jimmy over Buddy as a coach after experiencing Buddy like you did? How much more impact do you think he would have had? I think Buddy wears his welcome out too fast. Okay? I think Buddy, I think he wears them out. I think he wears people out quicker than Jimmy does. If you notice, Jimmy's never been in places more than 5 years. Okay? He's never been in places more than 5 years, and I think he wears people out too. Oklahoma State, Miami, the Cowboys, the Dolphins. You know what I mean? Jimmy wear you out too, man. Those kind of guys wear you out. Buddy for me, though, was more of a defensive guy. Not that Jimmy wasn't. Jimmy coached Leroy Selman. He coached Leslie O'Neal. He coached some of the great defensive players of all time, too. He's a really great defensive coach. Buddy, though, was a creator of, I think they're kind of the same guy. I think that's why they had great battles together. I'm partial to Jimmy because Coach was, he also was a motivator and a psychologist, and I don't know. I think Jimmy got fortunate because of Jerry Jones too. Jerry Jones gave him the latitude, kind of like Jeffrey Lurie gives Howie Roseman the latitude to do moves. So his friend gave him a chance to build that Cowboy team how he saw it. I think that Hurts can go for a lot of guys. Not many quarterbacks can just go anywhere and play in any system. It's a great take, Tone. I agree with you. Like Aaron Rodgers can't play. Well, I don't know. Aaron Rodgers could probably play anywhere. Players have comfort zones, and you don't want to take that away from them. That's why, to me, every time you hear people saying, well, this quarterback is a system quarterback, that's not true. A truly great quarterback, in my opinion, makes the system. He is the system. He's the guys that make that thing. There's no such thing where you can just plug and play. There's no such thing like that. That's a media made-up conversation piece that people go, well, he wasn't really all that great, and it was more of the system. That's the dumbest thing on the planet, because truly great coordinators and great head coaches, they build a system around their talent. They put a system around the talent. That's what they do, okay? It's important to understand that, okay? It's important. So to me, that is one of the most important things that you could possibly have, okay? Is a coach that's going to be more conducive to doing what you need. I'm going to get into the top players. And I'm going to talk about the top defensive players. Okay? I think there's only like 13 of these guys. I don't think there's a shit ton of these guys. Remember when Brady first got to Tampa, he had to get Bruce Arians to dial it back. That's right. No risk it, no biscuit. That was his mentality. Well, you want to know why Jameis Winston had so many turnovers that one year? Because Bruce Arians has a high turnover offense. And why does he have a high turnover offense? Because he has those plus 25 throws down the field that result in turnovers. The truly great offensive systems have low risk turnovers. Why do you think the Philadelphia Eagles had really great success last year? And Jalen Hurts' 3,700 passing yards was not the true key to the whole thing. In my opinion, the key was the lack of turnovers. Okay? It was the turnovers. Okay? They didn't have a lot of turnovers. Okay? They didn't. They did not have a lot of turnovers. So again, Jimmy's thanking me for having him on, and we appreciate him coming on. We're trying to get him on Friday too, to get a little bit of what we're doing when it comes to the NFL draft for the first 2 days. Hopefully we can get him on after day one of the NFL draft, or maybe that Monday. Maybe we get him on the following Monday to get his opinion on what the draft is there and what he thought of the draft and what he thought of the Eagle draft and what he thought of some of the players that went. He also made a reference on Jalen Carter. I thought it was important because he said that he had to have a conversation. Okay? He had to have a conversation with Jalen Carter before he was going to have an opportunity for him to be able to maybe put down a pick and draft him, because it was important for him to understand that, what am I getting myself into? What is the player thinking about? What kind of guy is he? And how important is football to him? So for me, the bottom line comes down to we're in a position here where you've really got to have a conversation. Like when Detroit was talking, and they were talking, what's his name? Brad Holmes, the general manager of Detroit, and he had a conversation with Jalen Carter. Now, there's a report out there that Seattle is not going to take Jalen Carter. I don't believe anything right now. Okay? I don't believe anything. Okay? Okay, so end of the day here, I don't believe anything when Seattle may be taking him now, as far as I'm concerned. He may be taking him. Okay? They may be looking at him right now. So I don't think Kansas makes it past 23. We're going to get to the top defensive guys. You guys were great there. Hey, by the way, David Putney, did you catch my last thing before Jimmy came on from draft day? They need a punt returner. They need a kickoff returner. They need somebody on special teams. The Eagles need David Putney. Okay? They need hey, Putney. We need David Putney. Spin week. That's pretty true there, man. Spin week. All right. Here are the top defensive guys. And I'm going to go one down. These are the guys that I think are the best defensive players in this draft. And somebody potentially that the Eagles can look at. And then we're going to get into my topics. And we're going to talk about the word elite again. Coach Johnson, I was shocked. Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts is elite. What he does in that system, he's elite in that system. And get this. He's even impressed Jimmy Johnson in his decision-making. That's pretty impressive. Jimmy's not easily impressed. But he's impressed with he sees it too. I'm telling you. Hey, Tone, everyone, the thing that's the most glaring about Jalen Hurts is how he's getting better in his decision-making. That he doesn't really have an offensive coordinator. You understand that, right? Jalen doesn't have an offensive coordinator, whether it's Brian Johnson or Shane Steichen or whomever. How could you have an offensive coordinator when you do this? Here's my decision one. Do I hand it off? Do I not? Do I keep it or not? I keep it. Do I pass it? Do I run? How could you play call that? How could you play call that? You can't play call that. That's a gift. That to me is as important as Brady being able to read progressions. You know when I used to say this, and I'm taking this back. Remember when I said Jalen Hurts wasn't a good progression reader? Okay, he may not be. But you know what he is great at? Okay, do I hand it off? Do I not? I'm going to keep it. Do I hit Goddard on pass and release, or do I drop back and look for one of my guys coming across the middle, or do I go to AJ on a wheel route? You don't have to be a progression reader. You have to be a decision maker. That's it. They have taken progression reading out of that offense and built this team around his decision making, not progression reading. It's brilliant. And I'm not saying that Jalen couldn't evolve into being a progression. It's easier, but they're taking advantage of his skill set. It's pretty freaking, if you dissect it, Tone's like, you're spot on. He's the system. Like when they go like this, okay, RPO right. RPO right is not a play call. Jalen's got to go like this. Okay, do I give it to him or not? Go ahead. Split second. What's more impressive? A guy sitting in the pocket, reading 3 progressions and getting sacked, or a guy doing this? Split second, eye blink of a moment. I'm going to give it to him. And he's been right 99% of the time. So when Jeffrey Lurie, this gives me goosebumps. When Jeffrey Lurie and Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman are sitting in the room determining if they're going to put this enormous contract together, everyone's got to be doing this. It's not that this guy is the greatest reader of the passing game, that he's some savant like Manning and Brady. It's here in the trenches where the Eagles are built. Boom. Do I hand it off or not? Eyelash of a moment. Keeps it. Goes down the line. He's looking down. Jalen sees the field so much. He's watching Goddard. He's watching the wideouts. Do I keep it? Do I drop back? Do I run? Do I get out in the perimeter? That's not a play call. You don't have to hire an offensive coordinator, is my point. You don't need an OC. You just need to protect that guy. You need to protect him. Is it true that this new NFL is forcing these young quarterbacks to go through all these progressions instead of they are cutting the field in half? Tone, I'm going to give you an old school lesson here that Bill Walsh told me. What's the fastest way to help a quarterback who's a drop back guy learn how to see the field? Roll them right. Montana. Bill Walsh's mentality was this. Montana, early in his career, remember the catch? All that? What was it? Was Montana rolling right? Why? Well, you have a safe zone in the sideline. You're managing from hash to sideline, and you're doing half the field until Montana was able to get back in a 7-step and see the entire field. As Montana became better and better and better and better, this is what Walsh told me when I was in the Bay Area and I was on the air there. What Joe would do is he would process the information so quick. And once he saw the field more, that's why Montana was beating Marino and Elway and all these guys in Super Bowls and destroying them because nobody could defend him and Rice. Montana dropped back, started seeing the entire field, and it was freaking over. But you have a guy like this. But see, here's something that to me that separates Jalen. Jalen Hurts is not Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. But what he is one of. Did you hear what I said with Jimmy? You're too young for this, Tone. Some of you will know who this is. But this guy is like a passing Jamal Holloway. He is like a passing Jamal Holloway. that he's accurate. He's getting more accurate. His passing's improving at a high rate and at a high clips. But you know what's improving, and the reason why do you think his passing game, why do you think Hurts is evolving into a better passer? Why do you guys think that? Here, I'll help you. Because his decision-making is evolving quicker. Jalen's smart as shit, man. That's a smart man. That's a smart, hardworking, brilliant dude. He's got a lot of Tom Brady in him. Remember this, though. It's not how you drive. It's how you arrive. Some people drive differently. Some people take different routes to the same destination. As long as you get to the destination you so desire, who cares about the process? That's my issue. My issue is the process, and I got to get over that. You see, I'm so concerned about the process and not the result. Who gives a shit about the process? You know, I tell people, you guys remember a guy by the name of Jim Furyk? He had this weird-ass golf swing. Yet he won majors with it. Can you imagine a dickhead like me going in and trying to change his swing, and he still would win British Opens and U.S. Opens? And why would I change that? Why? Because it's not conventional? It's not how you drive, man. It's how you arrive. Now, this is why Tone, and I believe he's on my side with this, this is why you need to protect that. In drafting Myles Murphy is not going to help. Would a guard help? Probably. Because you're covering a position that's open. Would an elite back help? Absolutely. Why wouldn't you want to protect that guy? You want that guy on your football field for 10 freaking years, not 10 minutes. Okay? So when people go, Sills, you're crazy, the Eagles will never do that. Well, the Eagles have never had a player like Jalen Hurts. Did you ever think of that? You've had traditional drop back guys or guys who can move around. Hey, how do you think the Eagles did by, this is the best example I can give you. Tone, you may be too young for this. How do you think the Eagles did by surrounding Randall Cunningham with talent? Keith Jackson, Byers, some pretty good players there. What about the trenches? Eagles had horseshit linemen that. Everyone in the league knew it. That's why they were trying to trade for Jim Lachey with the Chargers. They didn't do a good enough job because why? Millionaires. Where are the most millionaires? In your O-line. Because there's 5 of them. Do you think the Eagle organization did Randall Cunningham a service? Well, Jeffrey Lurie's not doing that to Hurts. You had a freak show and a special player in Randall, and you destroyed him. You destroyed Randall Cunningham. That Eagle organization destroyed him. They're not doing that this time. They're surrounding him with great wideouts, tight ends, and most importantly, what Jimmy Johnson said, Jeff Stoutland, the most important person in the Eagle coaching staff, including the head coach. I'm starting to believe Stoutland's more important than Sirianni. After listening to Jimmy, who would you feel comfortable getting rid of if you had to? Sirianni or Stoutland? Think about that for a minute. I'd rather fire the head coach than lose Jeff Stoutland. Jimmy says the most important coach I had was my O-line coach. No minute needed, Sales. Bye-bye, Nick. And it's not a rip on Nick. That's why Stoutland survived. He wasn't going nowhere. Shit, man, the Philadelphia Eagles know what they have. They know what they have in Jeff Stoutland. Jeff Stoutland's more important than Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey. He's more important than them. He's more important than Jordan Mailata. You know why? He'll crank out 4 more, 5 more guys. Shit, man. If I were the Eagles, I would never let anybody interview that guy. I would make sure when his contract was getting remotely close that I was re-upping him. I wouldn't think 10 seconds about it. I would, hey, Jason Kelce can retire. That guy can't. Dude, that guy's the... Here, think about this. I think personally that Jeff Stoutland and Jim Johnson are your 2 greatest assistant coaches that you've ever had in the history of your franchise, or at least in the Super Bowl era. Jim Johnson was worth his weight in gold as a coordinator. And Jeff Stoutland just cranks out O-linemen like they're sausage links. I mean it, man. I had never heard coach say is most important. Do you understand? Jimmy had such great coaches on his staff. I never thought that he would say Tony Weiss was the most important coach to Wannstedt, Butch, Camp. Those guys all were head coaches in the NFL. Do you understand? Tony Weiss was never, you guys don't even probably know who he is. He was never a head coach anywhere. Butch Davis was Cleveland. Dave was in Miami and Chicago. Butch was, Campo was a Cowboy coach. North Turner was Washington and Charger coach. All those guys turned out to be head coaches. Tony Weiss, but he said Tony Weiss today was his most important coach, his O-line coach. Stout considered going back to Bama. Not a shocker. Look at the guys he's produced. He probably enjoys talking to young men and molding them into great players. How he convinced them to stay, how he knew he needed Stout to bring legitimacy to that new Eagles staff in 2021. Hey, the greatest thing Howie wrote, holy shit. Way to go, Tone. So the best thing that Howie Roseman did for Nick Sirianni, who didn't even know his coaching staff, was hire Jeff Stoutland for him. You don't know him, but we're hiring him for you. You'll thank me later. Don't ever tell me Nick Sirianni has say in a coaching staff, because Howie hired the best coach he could have on his staff. The Brian Johnsons of the world are nothing. Jalen's your OC. Dude, Sean Desai, Howie's running the same system he had a year ago. Why? Because he knows the NFC sucks. Do you think there's a quarterback in the NFC that could lead a 14-play drive against the Eagles for 60 minutes and not turn the ball over? Name me one quarterback you think that could do that in the NFC now this year. Dak? He led the NFL in INTs last year. Who? Geno? We're going from, we don't really have a high list of high-end quarterbacks when we're talking here now. Think of that. Howie fired every single coach off the Doug Peterson staff, just about, right? Only person that stayed was Stoutland. I think Rocker may have been there too. Okay? They kept Stoutland for a reason. It wouldn't have shocked me if they offered him the head job. He said, frick that, I'm an O-line coach. I'm awake, are you? So do you love or hate the Eagle Sills? No, I cover them. What do you mean you're confused? I cover them. They're having a great... So I'm awake, are you? So am I supposed to lie to you and say you guys aren't having a great offseason? Is that what you want me to do? You know, I'm awake. What? This is the kind of stuff that kills me. When you are having, and when I thought you were going to have exits, you still had massive exits, but you limited the damage. You constructed a phenomenal contract. You kept your corners. Do you want me to lie to you and say you guys are having a horrible offseason? Look, the penny sign, it's a nothing burger. The linebacker from Chicago is a nothing burger. The guy from Pittsburgh, he knows what's this? So, okay, he knows the position of safety more than CJ did. He's not a better player. Don't kid yourself. He's not. I don't care what pom-pom waivers are in Philadelphia telling you, he's not. Okay? Yeah, what do you mean liking? I don't like anybody. I don't root for anyone, dog. I like fan bases. I told you. Here, you know what, too? It's almost like you guys want me to say, Sills, you're now an Eagle fan? How could I do that? I would be so ungenuine and not a genuine dude to you guys if I told you that I rooted for the Eagles. I root for you guys. I like the fan base. I don't come into your market or into your place talking and then I'll lie to you and tell you that, what do you want me to be, a politician like Hillary Clinton? Oh, I'm a Cubs fan now. I thought you were a Yankee fan. Oh, wait, I thought you were a White Sox fan. Do you even know what city you're in? I mean, right? Dude, they're having a great. Dude, I root for teams I played for. It kind of, because they like me now. Before they didn't. The Bucks and I have a very combative relationship. It's in a great place now. Miami, hey, you want to hear something, guys? So you know what kind of guy I am? University of Miami barred me from the campus because I was talking so much shit on Al Golden. They didn't want me on the campus. And thank God they fired that cancer. And now Big Sills is back in the graces of the program again. I'll always be a Hurricane. Okay? I'll always be a Hurricane. That guy won't. And he was a cancer. They hated it. I used to say this. Yeah, Al Golden building championships through New Jersey. You got to get down into Liberty City and Overtown. And you got to get off your ass and stop going to the suburbs and get into places and sell dreams again. Okay? You're damn right I blasted the Canes because they sucked. You're damn right. You're damn right I did. Dude, I hate everybody. I don't hate everybody, man. My aunt, don't do that, Joseph, because now you got my aunt upset thinking that I don't hate anybody, man. I told you, the only people I hate in life are Nazis. Other than that, dude, I don't really hate anybody else. You know, I don't go there with that. Al Golden was a cancer in my program. Hated that. Ugh. I hated the way he did business. How's that? Wait, so you really like the guy at Iowa, Dick Van Dyke. So you like Dick Van Dyke, who couldn't start at Iowa, want to take him at 10. Let's draft Dick Van Dyke. No, thank you. The Terps, I got in trouble. There was hey, Tone, I'm going to tell the story here before I get into the top defensive players in the draft. I talked to Michael Irvin today. Let's see if I can show you this without divulging his phone number. I got to show you this. Okay, let me show you this. Okay, hold on here. Okay. So there's my aunt and I talk a lot, but look at this. So there's Michael Irvin. He called me. And you guys are going to love this. I was telling Tone a little bit about it. So he calls me up. I sent him a voicemail. I said, "Don't you ever in your entire life ever send me to a voicemail." He calls me up this morning right before I came on the air. Michael Irvin he starts laughing. He goes, "Big Sills, man, I love that. I love that voicemail, Big Sills. I go, don't you ever send me to a voicemail as long as you live." And we had great conversations. And you know what? He's down a little bit. And I told my aunt, I talked to him, and he goes like this. He goes, "Man, I'm so down." And I go, don't be, dude. You're a walking target. You've put a target on your chest because you're loud and proud. You're black. You've got great history, and they're always going to be coming for you. You know this. Mike started crying. I said, you know this. You're the face of the Miami Hurricane program. You, Jerome was. This guy was the face of the program. He's not here anymore. I said, you carry the baton. We've had greater players. I love you, guy. I backed you from day one because I know what you're going through with your wife and everything else that's going there with illness. I know everything. And he starts crying and he goes, they're always coming for me. I go, they always will. And what they're trying to do is change you. And that's the thing we had when we were younger. And he goes, man, I just wish everyone knew who you. I go, I don't want them to. I don't care. You're my friend. You're my friend. And he's like, I didn't do anything. I said, Mike, I would, there's a part of me that goes, we started kidding going, I go, damn, dude, this was like one of the few times you didn't take a chick to your room. And he's like, I know. I didn't do anything. Okay? I said, Mike, remember something. Denzel's right. The devil don't come for you, man, when you're down. The devil comes for you when you're on the high and you're up here. That's when the devil comes for your ass. Walk with that chin up, dog. I got you, man. We're boys forever. Whether you come on my show, whether we do this or that, we're always going to be teammates. I love every one of them guys. Michael Irvin is my brother, and he will always be. I posted a really cool picture. Of me and him. He used to come over and check on me because I get banged up sometimes in a game. He'd come over from the offensive side. He'd check, go, Sills, you all right? I got a picture of that on my Twitter page at Dan Sileo Show. Him coming over, checking on Big Sills. You all right, brother? Yeah, that's right. Sills is racist. Don't let eggheads on Twitter tell you. Remember, Twitter's the out-how wall of social media. Always remember that. There's no truth to it. And I'm talking whatever's being said on Twitter. It's not reality. It's not reality. Yeah. Love that dude, man. Yeah, you're probably in a healthier place because you're not on Twitter. All right, let's look at the top defensive guys that are going to be in this draft. Guys, I'm telling you, I couldn't come up with 20 of them. That just shows you, man. I couldn't come up with 20 guys that, for me, I couldn't come up with 20. So I've got 13 dudes that I've picked that I think are the top defensive players. Will Anderson, I got number one. I think Will's the number one defensive player in the draft for Thursday night. He's been the best defensive player the last 2 years. You can argue he's been the best football player, the best prospect the last 2 years. Hard to believe when you think about it, that last year he was the best player in the country, and this year he's the best player in the country. He won't be, and get this, what's crazy is that he won't be drafted. He won't be drafted like that either. The second best player is Jalen Carter. I don't give a shit about any of the stuff right now. I don't care. If I felt comfortable in my conversation with Jalen Carter, I would draft him in 10 seconds. I have no problem with that. The third best player in the NFL draft is Tyree Wilson, edge rusher, Texas Tech. So your top three so far, Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, Tyree Wilson. These are three wow players that I think are good football players, okay? Texas Tech. And here's something you got to think about with the Big 12. What do they do in the Big 12 a ton? They pass rush. So what does that mean? Well, that means Tyree Wilson got a shitload of reps. They probably throw the ball in that conference, 45 to 50 times a game? Can you imagine the amount of reps he got as a ball player playing in that conference and playing in that situation there where he got 45 to 50 reps? He had to have really built and learned how to put a scheme together when it came to pass rushing. So to me, this guy here has a ton of reps, and I'm good with that. Look, the Big 12 traditionally doesn't give you any kind of defensive football players, but this kid's a good-looking pass rusher. Tavon Thibodeau for the Giants came out of the Big 12. Oh, no, he's an Oregon guy. So, again, I mean, I'm a little concerned because there's not a lot of great talent in the Big 12, but he got a lot of reps in games. Number 4, Oregon. Speaking of that, I got Christian Gonzalez, cornerback. I got him at number 4. At number 5, Devon Witherspoon. By the way, I think there's a ton of corners in this draft. You may be able to get a corner at 30. If you so don't want to move off it, and some of these corners that are going to be, there's going to be a legit corner down there. Maybe you get some depth down there at 30. Or you trade into the second round and you grab one of these guys in the second round. Because there's some quality guys that are corners here. I got Joey Porter, cornerback, Penn State at 6. Okay? I got him at 6. I got Brian Branch, the safety. Might be a little high for a safety, but I got him at 7 from Bama. I got Kalijah Cansey, defensive tackle, number 8, Pitt. I got Deonte Banks, cornerback, Maryland, number 9. I got Cam Smith, 10, cornerback, South Carolina. I got just so you know, hey, Tone, I got Miles Murphy, 12th ranked defensive football player in this draft. I got him at number 12. So I know you think I piss on the kid and shit on him, but I do think he's the 12th best defensive player in this draft. Clemson, I got him at 12. And I got Nolan Smith at 13, edge rusher, Georgia. So Will Anderson at 1, Jalen Carter at 2, Tyree Wilson at 3, Christian Gonzalez at 4, Devon Witherspoon at 5, Joey Porter at 6, Brian Branch at 7, Kalijah Cansey at 8, Deonte Banks at 9 from Maryland, Cam Smith 10, Emmanuel Forbes 11, Mississippi State. I must have missed him. Miles Murphy 12, edge, Clemson, and I got Nolan Smith, Georgia, number 13. By the way, Nolan Smith at 10, come on. Boy, he's fast, Sills. Great. And that's phenomenal. Congratulations. He's a track guy. Okay? Again, a dude with not a lot of production. I got a problem with that. So you don't make plays at Georgia. Well, he plays with a ton of other great players. So did I. I played next to a guy that you retired his number. So did I. Now, I will give you in today's game, there's more rotating. So I get that. A lot of these programs rotate these guys in because you know why? They're afraid of the transfer portal now. And they want to give guys playing time because they promise them the playing time. I always thought that was a remedy for disaster. But I do kind of get it. So you may not see the same kind of production like you saw that I had or Jerome had or guys back in the day that had 100 tackle seasons. I had 100 tackles in 1 year. Jordan Davis didn't have 100 tackles his entire. I mean, what did he have? 30 total tackles in his entire career? Had 9 sacks. It's not very productive. There is a lot of rotating, though, at Georgia. So you got to put that into consideration. There's a lot of talented guys that they have to give playing time to. There's a commitment there now because we didn't have the transfer portal. And that would have been a tough thing for us, too, to deal with. because we had so many good players behind us. Like I told you, we had Russell Maryland, Cortez Kennedy behind us. If those guys weren't seeing playing time, you think they were going to stay at Miami? Probably not. So there's more you have to deal with today. So if Jordan Davis doesn't have a ton of sacks like, say, Sue did when he was at Nebraska, Sue didn't probably rotate as much. Even during his time, that's kind of a new thing now to protect your program from the portal. Because, dude, if you're like, check this out. That guy, Arch Manning, you see, if I were him, I would leave Texas. There's a redshirt sophomore that beat him out at Texas. So what's Arch Manning going to do? Play 1 year at Texas? Even with all that nil money? Why would you stay with the Longhorns when you got a sophomore who's going to start for the next 3 years at the Longhorn program? Why would you stay there? You have no chance of starting. They named him. And Sarkisian said, well, I'm going to name him the starter now because it's really not a debate. Holy shit. Arch Manning didn't even get a chance to compete for the job. He saw what he was, and he goes, that's not the guy. Arch Manning needs to get into the transfer portal now. He probably will. Go to Alabama. Go to some, maybe Southern Cal. I don't know. Caleb Williams is probably going to leave. I wouldn't be shocked if Arch Manning lands at USC. He's not staying at Texas. Why would he? He's going to sit for 3 years. So you got to kind of protect that shit when you're a team like Georgia. Right? Bro, you damn right. In college, I did. In my first year in the pros, I did. Yes, yacht. I had 25 tackles my rookie year, and it sucked. He had 19. Yeah, I posted it too. I put all the games up there. And my senior year, or my sophomore year, actually, at Miami, I had 97 tackles in 1 year. Yeah. He didn't have 97 tackles his entire career at Georgia. And I played next to Jerome. And on the other side was another first rounder. And on the other side of that was another first. I played with 4 first rounders. And I outproduced them all. So don't tell me, well, you played next to good guys like Wyatt and Walker and all these. So what? Go make a play. Now, again, they rotate more today. So Davis has to rotate. There's more rotating. And the production's not going to be there like it was in the day. Okay? Okay, I mean, but so you have to put that into consideration. I got to take a timeout. Please hit the like button. Some of the teams that I think they're going to trade, and I do want to get this. I haven't even hit on the topics yet. Please hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the steaks and the steaks. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
My name is Fran Soleno, and I'm Managing Director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Big Sales National Football Show. Who said Wildwood's not the same? Dude, I used to go down there for nickel beer night. Whew. Man, you guys, I forget the name of the place that had nickel beer night down in Wildwood. What was that? What was the name of that place, Steve? That was down in Wildwood that had nickel beer night. Me and my boys would come down from Connecticut. We go down there to Wildwood during the wintertime, or excuse me, summertime. And we'd go down to the place. And there used to be this place, man, you had nickel beer night. And we'd roll into, was it Brewburger? Yeah, was it Brewburger, man? That was the Blue Oyster. That sounds, there was a place down there, man, where you go down in there, man. It was nickel beer night. You have you'd have the blue shell crabs, and you'd be sitting out. Oh, that was a fun time, man. I love that place. I spent a lot of my summers down there, man. I would go to Jones Beach, Wildwood. Then we would go up to Block Island, and we'd go up there too. So the places in the summertime for me were Block Island, Jones Beach, and Wildwood. And Ocean City, Maryland too. We'd go to. Used to go there a ton of times. I've been to Ocean City, Maryland a lot. The Blue Oyster. I think that's the name of the place. The Blue Oyster used to have nickel beer night. Jesus. Hey, Takeem, all I remember is this. One day I woke up, my pants were down by my ankles, and I was laying on my stomach. I don't know what happened. I don't know what that meant. I go like this. I was just thankful my rear end didn't hurt. Oh, hey. Hey, man. Oh, why are my pants down? Oh, my God. The Blue Oyster is. Oh, man. Oh, my God. It's smashed, you think? Oh, man. I used to deliver beer from Ocean City to Cape May. Cape May, another one, man, during the summer. Hey, Hangover the movie. Oh, I'd look at my buddy Pazzulli, who played with the Browns, went to college with me, and Tony Brown, who played at Pitt. And there's this, Bill Fralick used to come with us. Dude, it was, hey, here are the guys that we would go to Wildwood with. Here's the name of the guys. Tony Saragusa, offensive lineman Tony Brown, Bill Fralick, Bill Moss. I hung out with these Pitt guys, Dave Pazzulli, and my friend Jim Colford. And these gargantuan dudes would walk into these bars, nickel beer night, all you can eat. And we would, what was those, remember those places, Beefsteak Charlie's and shit? It had all you could eat and had all you could eat shrimp and like whatever. Dude, don't let us get into a room like that. We'll close the place down. There used to be places in New York called Brew Burger. Some of you probably know them. All you had to do was order a hamburger and fries. You get all free pitchers of beer. We'd go into the city, man. All these big dudes. Bill Fralick would take 10 pictures, man. I'm like, Bill. He's like, rocking. This guy's like a rocking chair, man. I'm like, we're walking out of this place called Brew Burger. Fun times, man. Ocean City's really, hey, Ocean City's killer, man. I bet that place looks awesome now still because that was really, hey, Chuck, Bill Fralick, man. He didn't say too much. Dude, he wasn't very talkative, but he was talkative around us because he was always kind of reserved. But Bill was a great dude. Gargantuan legs, man. Dude, he was a three-time first-team All-American at Pitt. Bill's pretty close to being a Hall of Fame football player in the NFL, too. He was good, man. Not known for having women. I used to pick up hookers. Congratulations to you, Yale. Thank you very much. Hey, Quan, I think maybe I did. Oh, let me go on here, man. Let me get to the topics here. Oh, wait. We'll do that at the top of the hour here. So now everybody's like psychoanalyzing the Jets. Hey, now everyone's psychoanalyzing the Jets move of Aaron Rodgers and him going to the Big Apple now. Personally, I think the Jets totally got fleeced by the Packers, but we'll see what the Packers do with the draft picks. But hey, at the end of the day, though, Aaron Rodgers to the Jets makes them what? Relevant? True. Now there's a conversation that the Jets are going to have 6 primetime games on national television, so you get a chance to watch the best. So you see, you got to understand something about the Jets and the Cowboys. The greatest soap operas are not during the daytime anymore. The daytime soaps are now on Sunday. And it's known as Aaron Rodgers' World Turns. Right? And Jerry Jones, The Old and the Restless. Hey, that's what you should have. There's your Sunday programming. Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones, The Old and the Reckless. And followed up by As Aaron Rodgers' World Turns. Greatest soap opera's going. It's the greatest reality television on the planet. Both teams going nowhere. But my God almighty, is it must-watch television. That's a perfect story for the NFL. And then you leave the big games and you leave the big football games to grown-ups like the Eagles. Right? You leave the big games and the games that matter to the grown-ups, and that's the Eagles and Jalen. And the Cowboys can live in that fantasy world with the Jets now. Dude, you got this 2023 season, you're going to see record ratings. Record ratings as Aaron Rodgers' world turns. Yeah. I'm ready to rock. Are you ready to rock? Hey, screw pot, man. This guy's going to be doing advertisements for marijuana and cannabis clubs. Hey, this is Aaron Rodgers, and I would like to sell you 3 ounces of hookah bags. Hey, we're ready to roll. We got a new streaming source when it comes to YouTube now, and I could do pot ads. Weed is legal in New York. That's not a shocker. Weed is legal in New York. So is being a hooker. Jordan Davis, as the turnstile turns. No, that's not fair. That's not nice. I should not say that. As the turnstile turns. Dude, seriously, man. Cheech and Chong, you should come out with that Cheech and Chong song for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is now a new member of the New York Jets. Great. And I bet Jody's all happy. Hey, look, we got a quarterback. Yeah, the first one since Namath. Can you believe that? This is the best quarterback the Jets have had since Namath. Since Namath. That's the first year of Monday Night Football. Joe Willie. Now we got Aaron Willie. Willie Aaron. Willie Aaron. Dude, I'll be watching the Jets. I can't wait to watch that thing just absolutely implode. Oh, my God. Dude, please let it implode. It's the Jets. Why am I wishing for it? It'll happen anyway. Everyone in New York right now, oh, my God, we got Rodgers. We're going to the Super Bowl. And you're like, the Jets? The Jets haven't been to the playoffs in 12 years. I think they got the longest non-playoff streak, like in the NFL, right? Broadway Rodgers with a big old pot pipe in his mouth. Dude, great TV. Great TV. All right, I'm going to get to the topics. Holy cow, another day where I don't get to the topics until the third hour. Unbelievable. Mark Sanchez, Aaron Rodgers. Really? Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. Oh, man. Jets in Cleveland. That's right. That was the first game Monday night. I think it was from Cleveland, too. Get this. I think Keith Jackson was the play-by-play guy and not I think the first team was Meredith, Cosell, and Keith Jackson. I think that was the broadcast team. And then I think they added Gifford next year. Okay? I think they added Gifford then the next year. Oh, that's the greatest broadcasting football tandem of all time. I used to sit around waiting for Monday Night Football. They used to get 25. Hey, Tone, so you know, because you were way too young for this, but they used to get 25 shares for Monday Night Football, and it would be like the shitty Patriots versus a bad Dolphin team. And you'd to be 28 shares because Cosell, you know those halftime highlights that they did? Cosell never saw him. He saw him when he did it. He had no script, and he was most of the time drunk. Gifford told me that they used to put a pail underneath Howard Cosell's feet by the end of the broadcast, he would just be gunning beers. And by the time he got to halftime, they would just throw up like the Oilers and Steelers and like Cowboys and Eagles, and he'd put these highlights on, and Cosell would do them cold. Halftime highlights with Howard Cosell, and then he'd start going into it, and you're like, wow, I thought it was scripted. Nope. That stuff that's right. He was wasted doing the Cosell halftime highlights. Yeah, man. Rune Arledge told me this story. I had a chance to meet Rune Arledge, and Robustelli introduced me, and he knew Rune Arledge very well. This is when I was starting my broadcasting career because, as you know, Jim McKay, his son, and I are dear friends. He's been on the program a couple times. And Jim McKay used to come to my high school football games. He used to come with a friend of mine named Doc Santinella. And so I was friends with Jim McKay. Jim McKay would come watch me play football in high school. And he would come and watch me. Sean McManus is his son, and I knew his son who went to Fairfield Prep. And I went to Stanford Catholic. And I got a chance. And so as I got into broadcasting, once I left football, he goes, go see Rune. Rune will help you. So I go down to meet Rune Arledge. Rune goes, what do you want to do? I go, I want to do sideline. Let me do sideline college football. Let me start there. Let's do that. He goes, fantastic. Hey, and Yale, I think you may know the story. So I see Jack O'Hara. I go down to the office and see Jack O'Hara. And Jack O'Hara goes like this. I don't know if the kid was the producer. Sean's been on our program here like 3 times. He's the chairman of CBS now. And he and I have been friends forever. You'll like this, Tone. So, well, I don't think you will like this, but so Rune Arledge sends me down. I have a great conversation. I'm getting hired at ABC Sports. I have the paperwork still to this day. Jack O'Hara goes, I got to go do the French Open. I'll be back in 2 weeks. This is the crazy, and I never followed up. You know that Flight 800? That TWA flight that blew up over like Long Island Sound? He was on it with his 3 kids and his wife. I never called. I thought it was in poor taste. My wife's like, you're not calling up Rune Arledge. I go, I can't do it. I could not do it. I could not do it. I had the paper. I was going to be hired at ABC Sports, and I was recommended by Rune Arledge and by Frank Gifford. And I was going to be hired. And that plane blew up. I rarely tell that story, but I think I still have his phone number. Jack O'Hara. Damn. But I thought it was the right thing to do. I never called ABC back because I thought it was just in poor taste. Ugh. We'll do some happier times. Hit the like button. I got to hit the topics. We'll do that. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messon Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
My name is Fran Salerno, and I'm Managing Director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Big Sills. I found this old book a couple days ago with numbers in it. And I'm trying to look because I'm looking back on all the things how I got started and going to ABC. Here's Gifford's old number. These numbers aren't good any longer. Kevin Gogan. This is Kevin Gogan. He's with the Raiders then. And there's Frank Gifford up top. Is Jerome in here? No. You don't think Jerome Brown's in here? Oh. There's Jerome Brown. Brooksville, Florida. There's his old phone number. There's Larry Baer, used to be the president and CEO of the Giants. And there's the mayor of San Francisco. There's Jerome's old number. Yep, 799-1975. Oof. Yeah, man. Dude, yeah, that's crazy, the people that I've met in my life. Oh, those were great folks, man, because the FBI used to ask us to do events for them when I was in California. And we would do like bocce ball events. And so what we would do is we would have the KMBR guys versus the FBI guys in North Beach. And we would play bocce ball. And Tony Bruno was involved in that. Tony Bruno would come and play. Because Tony was on it. For some reason, he was on with Gary Radnich, and he used to do a hit with Gary Radnich. And Tony Bruno would do bocce ball, bocce do bocce. And so we'd go up to North Beach, and we used to have these gigantic tournaments. And so the FBI guys would play against us, and then I think we had Secret Service play also. We'd have the local fire department and the local San Francisco police department play in this bocce tournament. We would raise money for charity. It was really great. Really a great time. I love doing all that stuff, especially for like the military and for like home. There was no such thing as Homeland Security then, so it was just the FBI guys. Love Tony Bruno. All right, I want to get into the topics here now. Please hit the like button. You guys have been great today. By the way, man, we're so close to the draft. I hope you really enjoyed Jimmy Johnson in the first hour of the program. If not, don't forget, you can go back and watch the interview that'll be posted on JAKIB Sports. By the way, Big Sills is working on Brian Westbrook for tomorrow. Okay. Drew Brees is hopefully going to do it too. So we're working on Brian Westbrook tomorrow to see if we can get him on the program and talk a little bit Bijan and get his spin on it. I want to go back to kind of how we started the program. Guys, and by the way, so you know, maybe this is more of a me thing. You know, Tone, I'm starting to think this is a Sills thing. And maybe you guys are right. Can I have my mind changed? Phil Simms kind of changed my mind. Remember, guys, when Phil said, hey, Sills, when a guy gets out in open space, don't you think he has more control of his own destiny on getting hit and what kind of contact? I never looked at it that way on the reverse side of that. Okay? I never looked at it like that. Okay? You know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, I never really looked at it in that light. You know, I looked at it more, you know, in the position where you're going like this. Okay. If you're in open space, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get injured. Well, he kind of changed my opinion on that. And now maybe the elite status of what Jalen does and how we broke it down. I want to break it down again Because you know what? You know what's crazy, Tone? Yale, everyone. Maybe what I'm going to do here is change my own opinion by just talking this out right now with you guys. Okay? It's not changing my opinion, but I want to talk this out with you because we kind of hit on it. Jimmy said that he's elite in what he does, which means Jalen's the system. Okay? He's the system. There's no such thing as a system quarterback. Do you think anybody else could go into Kansas City and do what Patrick Mahomes does? Or don't you think that aren't these you know why I think we're seeing such young coordinators and we're not seeing the old farts any longer being the coordinators? Because aren't today's coordinators building custom-made offenses to fit the talent that's coming out of college more so than what the old farts were? And here, this is why many of the black quarterbacks were eaten up by the NFL. Because why? You would have these old mentality ways. 7-step drop, get back in your 7, 3 or 7, run this offense. And if you can't run this offense, you can't play in the league. That's why you had all these old guys. And that's why when you drafted a guy that was in college and you saw how great he was, he got to like Vince Young's a great example of that. Vince Young, you think Vince Young ever ran the offense he ran when he was at Texas? You think Vince Young, how do you think Vince Young would run that offense in Philadelphia right now? How do you think Vince would run that offense? You think Vince would be successful in Philly with Shane Steichen instead of Jeff Fisher? Yeah. Right? Yes. Right? Yeah, but here's where I'm going, Duck. What I'm saying is these young guys today, these coordinators, these young coordinators, like Shane Steichen. Man, Shane Steichen's not a great offensive coordinator, but you know what he was great at? Identifying what? Jalen Hurts' skill set and going, hey, look, he's never going to be Phillip Rivers. He's never going to be John Elway, but he's going to be the best version of Jalen Hurts. These guys never were. You know why Indianapolis has been failing at quarterback? Because they're trying to find and duplicate what? Andrew Luck. Instead of just finding the next, they're looking for the next Andrew Luck. That's why the Miami Dolphins have been going and shooting through quarterbacks since Dan Marino, because they're looking for the next Dan Marino. The next Dan Marino's not coming. He's not coming. That's not happening. So what do? You find a guy that's got a tremendous skill set. Jalen Hurts is not winning ball games because he's a progression reading quarterback. And as I said this in the first hour, Jalen Hurts is winning ball games and winning people over and getting a massive contract because of his decision making and how that's developed. And his game is coming along with it. This is the new wave of dude, and I'm talking the coordinators. How many times that you look at it and you went like this? Kevin Stefanski, who's that? Who's Kevin Stefanski? And you're giving these coordinating jobs to people that you've never heard of. Who's that guy? You're not seeing old guys hired. You don't really see old offensive coordinators hired anymore, do you? You see these new young dudes that put these boutique offenses around these skill set kids that are coming into the game. Tone said this before. The reason that I think you're seeing more success at the quarterback position is why. Do you know the only guy that I've seen that has really changed the whole landscape of shit has been John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh went from Joe Flacco, okay? Drop back, old school, throw the ball down the field, 35 attempts, couldn't run and jump over a stack of quarters. Bang, that's just dead. Boom, I'm out, Then he goes to this kid. He goes to that guy. Jim Harbaugh, too. But what's the big advantage that Jim Harbaugh had? Jim Harbaugh's a college coach too. Jim Harbaugh knows the college game and the pro game. Why do you think he could take a guy like Colin Kaepernick and get to a Super Bowl with him? And then have a guy like Alex Smith and go, I'm not sticking with the drop back guy. I'm going with that. I'm going to tell you guys something. I thought Colin Kaepernick was a dual threat guy that was going to be the new revolutionary thing. The problem is that the York family destroyed that 49er team, and we'll never know how good he could have been. I thought Colin Kaepernick, politics aside, I don't care about that. Politics aside, I thought Kaepernick was a great player. What do you have in that game against the Packers? 275 throwing, 250 running. Guy was a freak show. Guy was a freak show, man. And then the team started falling apart. Guys were retiring. The organization sucks. They didn't fire Harbaugh. He left for Michigan, I think. And Jim, he was like 41-19-1 as a head coach in San Francisco with an NFC championship. And he was a quarter away from winning. If the lights don't go up, maybe the Niners win against his brother. Hey, man, screw the politics. I don't care. The kid was a good player. But they were building an offense around him and his talents. He was dual threat. And he was a big kid. I think he went to Nevada, played for Chris Ault. Chris Ault used to tell Jim Harbaugh, this guy's something else. You got to watch him play a ball game. And Harbaugh believed it and saw it and said, let me put an offense around this guy. Jim built an offense. It's funny. He can't recruit a quarterback to save his life to Michigan, though. I think that's one of the biggest problems that they have at Michigan. He can't recruit offensive players there. There's not a ton of offensive players at Michigan. And I thought he'd have been better at that, but he can't talk a quarterback to save his life to get to Michigan. They've been all bums and haves and have-not guys, just not very good. I thought he would have been able to convince some kids to go up there, especially to that school, but they've never been able to. But I thought Kaepernick. But see, John Harbaugh took that, what Jim did, and then invented himself again. And that's why Lamar Jackson is where Lamar Jackson is as a player today. MVP, all those wins. Jim evolved. He evolved into being a coach that can take a guy like Flacco or somebody like Trent Dilfer and then go to Lamar. Those are great coaches. I love guys like that. I love dudes like that can just evolve like that. And the Eagles, dude, there is no question. They're ahead of the curve in mentality. You know how they're ahead of the curve? I don't care what does the quarterback do great? You had to look at Hurts first when he was drafted in the second round. And this is what they did. Once they decided to move, this is brilliant. I think Frank Reich had a lot to do with this. And I'll show you why. Because when Frank left, he went to Indy, right? There were coaches that didn't know what to do with Wentz, and most importantly, didn't really know what to do with Hurts. There was probably half the coaching staff that didn't believe in him. That's why Howie cleaned house and left only one guy that mattered in the building, Jeff Stoutland. Right? So what did they do? They called up Frank. I had Frank when he was on the head coach. And you know what? In the process of trading Wentz to the Colts, go back and listen to the first time Frank was on. I go, who contacted you about Shane Steichen? He goes, the owner. I go, really? I go, what was the conversation first Wentz and then the coach? You guys remember the process? Doug hadn't been fired yet. And so I go, okay, so in the midst of trading Wentz, you recommended Nick Sirianni? Were they talking on the phone about firing Doug? And he goes, yep. And he stopped. No, because he's friends with Doug. And he caught himself. Go back. You got to listen to it. Me and Xander were like, holy shit. He like unzipped his fly like a couple months ago with us when he told us that the Eagles had reached out to him on being OC before he got the Carolina job. And so Frank goes, I recommended Nick. And I said, why'd you recommend Nick? He goes, well, he's going to bring Shane with him. And those guys are going to put an offense together. Set it on our program. I should have known it then. Set it on our program. They're going to construct and build an offense because that's what Frank does. You know why Frank is such a good OC and good with quarterbacks? Frank Wright is the creator of the boutique offense. He creates one for Jacoby Brissett. He created one for Rivers. He created one for Kelly. He created every place he's been that Frank's been the offensive coordinator. Frank doesn't walk in with a playbook. Frank walks in and looks at the current playbook, and then what he'll do is he'll evolve that playbook into the player's skill set. That's why Frank is considered a quarterback guru. Frank doesn't do anything special, folks. But Frank does one thing that's different than all the other offensive coordinators. He finds out what you do best, and then he builds on that and stays away from the shit that hurts you. So is that a quarterback guru or a guy who just has common sense? How many offensive coordinators have you been around and you see guy has a playbook? John Gruden's like this. This is why I think John Gruden's overrated. John Gruden's overrated. Why? He's got a playbook. He's got a system. It's complicated, and not everybody can run it. That's why he only has veteran guys that can run it. Only veteran guys can run his playbooks. The Tim Rattays, the Jeff Garcias, the Brad Johnsons. The only first-round draft choice he's ever worked with was Derek Carr. But what they do is they simplify the offense. Like what Jalen did, and I'm learning this as I'm talking here. What they did with Jalen, what is Jalen first and foremost? They didn't start with Jalen's arm. You know, I hear people say this, the Eagles want to start by spreading you out and throwing the ball. Yeah, because that's what the Eagles are known for. Never had a 100-catch guy in the history of the franchise, but that's what they want you to think. That's not true. When teams coordinate and they scheme against the Eagles, the passing game is now what puts them on their heels, which is true. But the run game is the one thing that still everyone fears. How many times have you seen offenses that throw for 500 yards and still lose? But when you run the ball for 248 yards, you ain't losing that game because you've run people over. Okay? Howie wants to be able to throw the ball successfully, says Yale. Yeah, but he doesn't want to throw the ball like Bruce Arians with high-risk turnover plays. That's why they take their shots down the field calculated. You don't see a ton of plus 25 throws down the field. They're not looking for turnovers. I would rather have Jalen Hurts throw for 25 touchdowns and 6 picks and 5 picks and 3,800 yards with no turnovers on the offense than have a guy who throws for 38 touchdowns and 16 picks. Because most of those picks, that's what gets Allen in trouble. 2 things get Allen in trouble. He's reckless in his running game, and he throws high percentage turnover plays, especially in critical situations with minus 20 yards going the other way. That's why that offense has to be revamped under Ken Dorsey. You're not going anywhere with it, especially in the second half when teams out-scheme you. You start losing games when you do that. You notice how bad the Buffalo Bills played traditionally in the second half of games? It's because the team schemed them up and they would force turnovers. And once the Bills had turnovers and got behind, what did they do? They panic and start throwing plus 25. What's plus 25 mean? High turnover percentage plays. No risk it, no biscuit. Hey, that's a great philosophy to have, but you better have a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over a lot. Okay? You better not have, dude, nobody wants turnovers. 35 touchdowns doesn't win you Super Bowls. when you have on the other side of that number 17 turnovers, 22 touchdowns with 6 picks, and 2,000-yard wideouts with limited turnovers in your offense? What number? Hey, guys, what number were the Eagles in turnovers on offense last year? Where was their ranking? Do you guys know what the Eagles' ranking was in turnovers last year? Because to me, that's a determining factor why they went so far, on top of what they did defensively. Okay? I mean, Diggs has redone his contract, so they've restructured it. By the way, there's a conversation going around that DeAndre Hopkins is working out a restructuring and that he's willing to work a restructuring. Boy, I'll tell you something. If you're Kansas City and he's willing to restructure a contract, man. I mean, you don't want to see DeAndre Hopkins in Kansas City or Buffalo or Cincinnati. Big picking. Really? They were tops in the league? That's not a shocker. That's not a shocker. Okay? Kansas City, you put DeAndre Hopkins with 20 touchdowns. So DeAndre Hopkins and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. Boy, would that be frightening. You talk about moving the sticks. That's moving the sticks aggressively. But no, you want to draft Myles Murphy. Kansas City gets Bijan. See, if Kansas City got Bijan Robinson, another win. So you put Bijan and you get rid of Ferdy Pacheco, Ali's fight doctor, as your running back. And you put him back there. Put an elite player back there. Hey, Ferdy Pacheco was good, but this guy's great. Kenneth Gainwell is going to give you – Kenneth Gainwell is going to give you the same production that Miles Sanders did a year ago. If that was the case, they would have started him last year. Because Howie would have moved him in. Howie would have took the job from him. Howie would have took the job. Penny 2K. No, you mean Penny 2 starts a year for 5 years. I did hear Barrett say that he thinks this is a breakout year. Well, Jesus, it's 5 years. I sure hope so. That'd be great for him. I saw him at San Diego State. But my friend, he had 5 years to break out. I mean, it's 5 years. This guy's like he's on the Derek Barnett plan. Like a GI Bill. I mean, how long are you going to be on the scholarship, guy? 5 years, you started 2 games a year. He's not, you got to pray. Dude, how about this? If Penny plays more than 8 games, that would probably be, I might save him and start playing him halfway through the season. I might start doing that. Okay? How many full seasons did Christian McCaffrey play? There's a reason he's making $20 million. Okay? And was traded for a plethora of picks. Rashad Penny was cut. He was cut. He wasn't traded. He was cut. Because the kid Walker from Michigan State took his job. Shit. The guy Chris Carson, he couldn't beat Chris Carson out for 5 years. And Chris Carson was a late round pick. And they moved up to get Penny. So you tell me, oh no, he was great in Seattle. 6 yards to carry. Yeah, when he played every 2 years. Yeah, no. You're right, Joe. Don't listen to them, Penny. Because Sileo's not speaking the truth, right? See, that guy wants to tell you a different truth. It's another one of those kind of folks that wants to, see what they want to hear. Yeah, I'm telling you what he is, not what you want him to be. Okay? Honestly, I'm telling you who he is. You're telling me who you want him to be. Like Arthur here. Arthur wants to tell you who he wants him to be, not who he is. That's people who live in denial. And not the river in Egypt. Okay. You have hope for Penny? So did Seattle. But see, he's in a different role in Philly, which is okay. Just like the other bust that they signed in the offseason. Marcus Mariota's a bust, but he's in a different role. He's a backup now. He's not being asked to lead a team. It's not a bad sign. You got 2 busts as starters, as backup guys. That's not bad. But those guys were failures in their cities that drafted them in the first round. I don't know. Andre Dillard's a failure. Now, the only thing that saves Dillard, it is the Eagle O-line. And if you don't start in Philly, that's not horrible. That's not horrible. Okay? That's not horrible. Well, he couldn't get really a starting job in Philly. Yeah, well, say Amado played Pro Bowl ball. The right tackle's the best in the game. The center's a Hall of Famer. The left guard's turning into a Pro Bowl superstar. And the left offensive tackle's turning into a superstar left OT. You didn't start there? That's why Dillard got money in Tennessee. He got money in Tennessee. Why? Well, because, you didn't start in Philly. That's not horrible. That's not horrible. Man, I couldn't break the starting job in Philly. Well, I got a lot of great players there. And by the way, man, Andre Dillard signed a pretty good contract for a second teamer. Boy, isn't it crazy? Everybody that was a free agent that left all got raises because they all produced in Philly last year. Every single player got a raise. Everyone. Some substantial raises. I mean, the guy who got the biggest raise is the DT. The guy who probably got the biggest percentage raise is Gardner Johnson. He was making $800,000. Now he's a chance to make $8 million. This guy's making 10 times the money he made a year ago in Philly. No, you're right. He should have stayed. He's making 10 times the money in Detroit. 10 times the money. Guy made $800,000 a year ago. Now he's making $8 million maybe. I don't know about you, man. 1,000%. Okay, yeah. Dude, that's big dough, man. Hurts, okay, you're right. You're right. Hurts went from 1.4 to 51, but that don't kick in until 24. But the sign-up bonus and all, and the money gets deposited. Yeah, I get it. You're right. You're right. Okay. Yeah, Hurts, I forgot that Monopoly money. Hey, another thing, too. I found out about that Gucci tag. I talked to Michael Irvin this morning about it. It's sewn in, Tone. But the new fad is, with the youngsters like Tone, is to keep it on. But the older gentlemen, you can cut it off and have it requested to take off. I was like, oh, so it's a young guy thing. I see. It's a young fella thing. See, Tone's one of them guys walks around like this. I'm wearing Gucci. Okay, how you doing? Now, I won't lie. I got a Fendi wallet. My wife bought this thing for me like 20 years ago. So, Tone, I got a Fendi wallet. Okay? I do have a Fendi wallet. I do. I have a Fendi wallet. My wife bought it for me years ago. So, Tone now, he's like these young guys, man. Gooch. I told Michael Irvin I thought it was like a big and tall patch. It was off the lower rack. He goes, come on, Sills, he looked good. I go, no, he looked good. The tie looked good on him, but the guy's got like a Men's Warehouse tag on his sleeve. I'm like, Hey, I could buy a Gucci jacket at Men's Warehouse too, leave the tag on, 20% off. I was like, damn, dog. And then I got my boy here, Tone, telling me, come on, Sills, you're showing your age, man. All the young guys wear the tags on their jacket. I was like, is it true? So I asked Michael Irvin and Steve Smith. I go, Steve goes, I'll leave the fella alone, man. It's a young guy thing. These guys like to keep the tags on now. Oh, sorry. I didn't know that they like to keep the tag on. I'm Gooch now. At least he's got an Italian guy in there. At least he's wearing Italian gear. Armani and Italians. Armani and Gucci, I'm good. Sometimes you got to keep the label on, Sills. Oh, I see it on the hats now. The young fellas, they got the labels on and they got all the, like Minnie Pearl, way past Tone's time. But remember, Minnie Pearl used to have, when she put the hat on, they had the price of the hat on. That's what we're going to start seeing. The Gucci tag on the arm, though, the 20% off tag on the wholesale warehouse sale. Whew. I was like, come on, Mike. He goes, don't kill a kid for it. It's just a young fella thing. And I'm like, he goes, yeah, Michael Parsons does it too. Oh, Michael Parsons, he goes, yeah, I walked in there. He had like an Armani suit. And he had the tag and the patch on. And I'm like, I looked at it. I go, is it sewn in? He goes, yeah, you can have it requested to have it taken off. I'm like, so the young fellows like to have it on? Okay. Oh, Grandpa Opry. Yeah. Oh, man. Gooch. Seals, you hate. I'm not hating. I'm just thinking, dude, when you make it, hey, wait a minute now. I'm not hating, Joe. All I'm saying is this. Dude, everyone knows you make $51 million. And I'm promising you, everyone knows there's nothing on you that's cheap. But you got to put the Gucci deal and the 20% off on the Men's Warehouse and Big and Tall thing. It's, I don't know, just a little cheesy a little bit. Tone's like, come on, man, get on my boy here. No, I'm not. I'm just a young fella thing. What's next? You getting your necklaces? Do you keep the tag on the necklaces too? Right? This is a Chanel. Hey, I'm wearing Chanel. Like I said, Big Sills has a Fendi wallet. It's true. Okay. I kind of try to hide that, but after I saw Jalen with the Gucci tag, I said, maybe I should tell people I do have a Fendi wallet. I got a Fendi wallet and a Fendi bank where you put your checks in. This was bought years ago. I've had these things 20 years. Yeah, I got a Fendi. I got a Fendi bank for my checks and a wallet. I get two Fendi things. Does it make me weird? Probably. Once you see the logo, you know it's expensive. So Jalen's bragging about his Gucci suit? I thought he didn't brag. You have a Fendi watch? Wow. Big Sills, that's a big money. Sills, you have a Rolex. Well, come on now. We don't talk about Big Sills here like that. That's not what we do here. Big Sills is an everyday guy. Hey, don't go there. Now you're making now I know what Hurts is feeling here. Hey, whoa, wait a minute here. Okay, we don't do that. Sills, we know the eyeglasses are Prada. Holy cow, I think I've opened up a can of worms here that I should not be doing. Holy cow. Oh man, so I got a set of Prada glasses. I got a Fendi bank for my checks and a Fendi wallet. What the hell was my famous leather bag here? What's my famous leather bag here? Oh, I better not say that one. That's not cool. I didn't realize. I better not be. That's an Armani. I did find this the other day, though. How about this? This was the last Super Bowl played in San Diego. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Marshalls. Hey, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is this Broncos and Packers? Is this Broncos and Packers? The 98 Super Bowl. Doesn't that sound like Packers? I should have showed Stink this. I might have to take a time out here and regroup. Yeah. How did he know I had Prada glasses? I got to take a time out, man. I'm flustered. I'm flustered here. That bag's worth $6. There you go. Hit the timeout or hit the like button. We got to take a timeout. See, I'm flustered, man. How did he know I had Prada glasses? Keep it here on the National Football Show.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Messon Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com. Messa & Associates, the toughest injury firm in Philadelphia.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood days.
My name is Fran Sileo, and I'm a managing director here at Del Valle Insurance Group. Been in the business for over 36 years, saving people money on their insurance needs. Give us a call. Let us help you custom design an insurance plan that meets both your needs and budget.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
You want to hear that's something that's going around now about the 49ers? Niner man, you may like this. John Lynch is kicking the tires on Lamar Jackson. Kicking the tires on Lamar Jackson. Dude, you put Lamar Jackson in that offense with Debo, Ayuk, McCaffrey, Kittle, the O-line. How would you pay him, though? How would you pay him? I don't know how. Lynch said we're exploring everything. How would you pay him? Bitcoin. That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know, JM. I gotta. How would you pay that? Would the 49? Could you do it this way? Take a Howie deal and go like this? Well, over the next 3 years, make it a 3-year contract. And you guarantee every cent of it. And when you guarantee every cent of it, it's more of a signing bonus. And you get to defer it out. And you get to do what Howie did with all those low cap hits because the money is all paid up front. And you do a 3-year deal instead of a 5-year deal. And you give him $150 million in guaranteed money. You could do it that way. If you gave him a 3-year contract and he's only 29, okay, and you gave him a 3-year, $150 million guaranteed contract, thing he covets, he's not going to get the Watson deal, but he'll get the guaranteed deal. And if you gave him 150, those cap hit numbers would be the same as Jalen's cap hit numbers because they would be so low, and you get to defer all that signing bonus money. It's signing bonus. The reason that the Eagles get to do what they're doing is because of the signing bonus money that's being paid up front. You understand when you look at Hurts's cap hits, and the reason that here, Hurts over the next 4 years is going to be paid $157.3 million. All the money is front loaded. And that's why you get $5.7 million this year, $13.7 million next year. That's incredible. For a $51 million quarterback, it's because of the money that's paid up front. And the reason that the 4 years, he's going to make $157 million. Then the third year is $22.4. Dude, do you understand? The cap hit in year 3 for Jalen Hurts is lower than the money your wide receiver makes. And then in year 4 is 33. And what's even more insane, because of the money that's up front, if Hurts is cut after the age of 26, you have 49.8 that you have on your cap and dead money that you could defer out 20 years because of the new collective bargaining agreement. So you could defer that money out and it wouldn't be as devastating. This is totally a team-friendly deal. Well, if you're the 49ers, you go to Lamar and go, I'll give you 150 fully guaranteed over 3 years. You get the money, all of it up front in the first 2 years. And you backload it or you front load it the same way the Eagles did. And your cap hits are going to be minuscule because it's more of a signing bonus. If you look at that Cleveland deal, the Cleveland deal everyone hates is actually a team-friendly deal for Cleveland. Why? Because the whole thing's guaranteed. It's front-loaded. He's just redone his contract so they could do more work and more maneuvering to sign more players. When you have that kind, see, what Howie has figured out, and he rightfully so, but owners are cheesy. See, owners wanted to back end it, and that's why they would cut you in the back end. They would cut you. Like if you signed a 5-year contract, you ever know the escalators went this way? What Howie's doing is this way, because they're investing in the young player early. Why wouldn't you? In the prime of his career, early. But what most players know is this. By the time you got to year 5, what happens, right, guys? In year 5, what happens? They cut you before year 5. Okay? They cut you. So here's what you offer. You don't have a first-round pick. So you're going to have to offer up next year's first-round pick. And you're going to have to send them Trey Lance and some 2s and 3s, Baltimore. But you can't because it's 3 1s, isn't it? That's right. Is it 3 1s or 2 1s? So you would have to front end the money, and you would have to give, I think it's 2 ones to Baltimore, and they would have to be future ones because you don't have the ones because you gave them to Miami. And how about that? Miami doesn't even have a first-round pick because of the bullshit with Brady and Stephen Ross. They never talk about a disaster that no one covers. How about that thing? So you trade away and you get that pick, and the Dolphins get that first-round pick from San Fran. They can't even take advantage of it because they got a dumbass owner who did that shenanigans with Brady, and now you lose the one. Total disaster. Total disaster. Both teams got nothing out of it. That's a complete failure by the Dolphins. So the Dolphins were in the 3-hole or 2-hole, whatever it was. The 49ers trade up to get it, give them a 1, and now the Dolphins lose the 1 because they're trying to steal Brady from New England. Stephen Ross and his best. That's his best. Lost a first rounder because you were cheating. Stupid stuff. I mean, and that's not covered enough. The Dolphins lost that pick, and the 49ers don't have one. 2 teams screwed up that pick. That's why some teams, man, they can't get the quarterback right. San Francisco hasn't got the quarterback right probably since Kaepernick. Kaepernick has been the best quarterback that they have had in the last 10 years. Who would have said that? The best quarterback that San Francisco has had in the last 10 years has been Colin Kaepernick. That's a fact. Everyone kicks that guy in the head. Okay, well, I mean, Jimmy G put a nice career together. He sure did. But the resumes speak for themselves. They're both. And Kaepernick was more sensational, more electric. Just my spin. If you told me, Sills, if I had to go into a football game to win a Super Bowl, would I want Garoppolo or Kaepernick? I'd go, give me Colin Kaepernick. I'll take Kaepernick. Wouldn't you? I think that's a no-brainer. He could do more. Jimmy G's going to throw a Velcro ball to somebody. Hey, and you know me, I like Garoppolo, but I'd take Kaepernick. I was going to say Jay Fiedler. I was going to say Carmazzi or Jim Drunkenmiller. They've had a bunch. Hey, ever since Montana and Young, they've had quite a collection of QBs in there. Tim Rattay, Jeff Garcia. I love how Philly makes that guy into like he's a superstar because of the whole Terrell Owens thing. You see what he did to Jeff Garcia? Who? Dude, Jeff Garcia? Okay. He ruined Jeff Garcia's team. Jeff Garcia had a team? Jeff Garcia was a leader? I must have missed that season. Jeff Garcia? You see what he did to Tim Rattay? I wouldn't want to play with those 2 guys either. Steve Bono. Steve Bono was a heck of a college player. He just transferred 88. This guy, hey, Steve Bono actually transferred more than I did. Hey, that guy transferred actually more than I did. Listen, I'm going to continue to beat this drum here. I was so happy to hear Jimmy Johnson say the same thing. He's sitting at 10. You got to think about that dude. Okay? You got to think about that guy. I will say this, though. I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed in one person today. And it's my guy, Tone. You know, he likes the Gucci thing on the sleeve. He wears the Gucci thing on the sleeve. You know, it's a young fella thing. You know, see Gooch. See, that'd be my suits. Gooch, not E. Gucci, you know. Mine would be Gooch. But Tone was trying to tell me, Big Sills, you're showing your age, man. You know, the Ben's Warehouse tag. Jalen looked good with it, though, man. Yeah, and the youngsters, man, they like to have the tag on there, you know. He did call me on Prada glasses, though. I don't know how he knew that. I have no idea how he knew that. We're getting so close to the draft. Tomorrow is mock draft and the final mock draft number 4. That's it. And then we're going to go into Thursday and we're going to be prepped and ready to rock and roll. I cannot wait to see. I mean, I tell Tone this all the time. Man, we changed that food burger how many times now, man? We flipped that baby up and down now, man. We got the buns burned. Everything's ready to rock here, man. So we're ready to roll, man. Hey, Xander, thank you. Big Joe, thank you. Tone, you are an ass kicker, and we appreciate you so much. You did such a great job. All of you that make the show spectacular, thank you too. Tomorrow, 3 to 6, we shall see you on the flip side.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
When it comes to the fight against insurance companies, large corporations, and the healthcare industry, injured victims are always the underdog. But that doesn't worry us. At Mess & Associates, we're an injury law firm from Philadelphia, and we come to fight. Our clients know that they've got representation with a chip on its shoulder, and it's the same chip that makes Philly the toughest city in the country. Call 215-568-3500 or visit us online at messalaw.com.